Chapter 473. A few dark masters suddenly attacked Jiang Haoran and almost killed him. "All of you deserve to die!" Jiang Haoran roared. His eyes were bloodshot. His hands seemed to be dancing as black rivers appeared. Buzz! However, Jiang Haoran's injuries were too severe. The moment the rivers formed, they collapsed. Immediately after, Jiang Haoran's body fell. The demonic qi around him dissipated. He was seriously injured. "Looks like we won't be able to continue fighting today." Chen Lu Dao was also covered in injuries. He had a sinister smile on his face. After whispering, his body turned into a cloud of black mist and disappeared. Lu Songang was also severely injured. He slashed open the void with his sword and fled. Many people chased after him. After all, it was the best chance to kill Chen Lu Dao and Lu Songang. However, many people stayed behind. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent as they stared at Jiang Haoran. "Jiang Haoran, since you were once righteous, I'll give you a chance." "Kill yourself," said a low-level immortal state prodigy. "We won't blame you for becoming a demon. However, you've killed too many people. How many innocent people have died in your hands? Today, you'll die here no matter what," said a middle-level immortal state prodigy. Jiang Haoran did not say anything about that. He also understood that ever since he became a demon, he had killed too many people. His hands were stained with the blood of innocent people. However, if he was given another chance, he would do the same thing again. When love reached the depths of one's heart, one would be fearless and indifferent to everything. In this world, love was the only word that was difficult to describe. "I say, do you really think I'm here to watch a show?" At that moment, Jiang Chen stood up and carried Jiang Haoran on his back. He then looked around and said coldly, "If you want his life, you'll have to step over my body first." "Jiang Chen, what does this have to do with you?" someone said in a low voice. "He and I are both direct disciples of the Qin Chuan Jiang family," Jiang Chen said directly. "No matter what he did, I'll protect him." "Jiang Chen, you already have the entire world as your enemy, and now you want to protect someone else?" one of the Sky Prides sneered. "Today, you and him will die together." When Jiang Chen heard this, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, revealing a trace of helplessness. However, there was a hint of excitement in his eyes. He raised his head to look at the sky and murmured, "Is it finally going to come to this? So be it, from today onwards, let's get serious." 1. As soon as he finished speaking, the crowd saw a burst of holy light erupting from Jiang Chen's body. Moreover, the radiance of the sun and moon transformed into divine light that floated around him. His aura instantly skyrocketed. There were also things that looked like stars floating above Jiang Chen's head, and a galaxy appeared behind him. "Do you know why I am called Tian Chen?" Jiang Chen whispered. The smile on his face grew even wider. Without waiting for anyone to answer, Jiang Chen muttered to himself, "With the sky as my name, and the stars as my life. Be careful! That's the power of the stars!" someone exclaimed. They more or less knew about Jiang Chen's ability. Previously, the reason why Jiang Chen was called Tian Chen was because he had mastered the power of the stars. However, after Jiang Chen's rebirth, he had never used that power. Previously, it was not that Jiang Chen did not use it, but that his cultivation level was not high enough and he could not use the power of the stars. Now, Jiang Chen's cultivation level was high enough. "So what if you have the power of the stars? You're just at the sage stage. How can you compete with us?" a middle-level immortal state Sky Pride said contemptuously. He raised his hand and struck out with his palm. A spell was formed. In the next moment, clusters of flames bloomed in the air. The scorching temperature caused the void to collapse. Immediately after, another person attacked. Standing in the distance, he held a long bow and shot an arrow. It was like a dragon leaving the abyss. With a monstrous sharpness, it charged towards Jiang Chen. "Today, we can fight," Jiang Chen said softly. He glanced at Jiang Haoran on his back and chuckled. "Are you afraid of death? Are you?" Jiang Haoran asked. At that moment, Jiang Qin and Jiang Haoren suddenly laughed. Were they afraid of death? Of course they were. If they died, there would be nothing left. However, sometimes, what was the use of being afraid of death? Only by fighting could they resolve their deaths. Kill! At that moment, Jiang Qin let out a long roar. With the stars in his hand and the sun and moon hanging above his head, he flashed out like a ghost. Like a silver thunderbolt, he instantly traversed the void and landed in front of the sage king. That person was a disciple of the Holy Light cult. Jiang Qin did not hold back at all. With a punch, he directly exploded. Then, Jiang Qin opened his arms. The power of the stars burned like an aurora. As his hands danced, rays of aurora burst out like ripples and spread out in the air. Wherever the aurora passed, the air was distorted and the void was shattered. All living beings that came into contact with the aurora were reduced to ashes. Jiang Qin! Die! A low-level immortal state prodigy roared. His fist was like a mountain tablet, pressing down on Jiang Qin. Jiang Qin did not dare to be careless. After all, his cultivation level was too low. He could only use all his strength to deal with it. He formed a formation with his left hand and a barrier with his right hand. A light curtain instantly shot up into the sky and protected him. When the fist landed, the formation collapsed and the barrier disappeared. However, Jiang Qin's body also moved sideways in this short period of time and avoided the palm. In the next moment, Jiang Qin's figure disappeared on the spot. Even his aura dissipated. The Dark Master's concealment technique? This? The surrounding people had strange expressions. Although Jiang Qin had concealed himself, Jiang Haoren, who was on his back, was still there. Jiang Haoren was also dumbfounded. He had appeared in front of everyone just like that. In this way, no matter how good Jiang Qin was at concealment, it was useless. I say, can you conceal me too? Jiang Haoren said angrily. What's the use of concealment if you're the only one? Aren't I still on your back? Others can't see you, but can't they see me? I forgot. Jiang Qin was quite embarrassed. He used his concealment technique and concealed Jiang Haoren as well. Whoosh! However, in just 3 breaths' time, a shadow broke through the air. A golden dagger pierced through the void and hit the place where Jiang Qin was hiding. Mu Xingyun! Jiang Qin roared angrily. There was only one person in the same generation who could see through his concealment technique in an instant, and that was Mu Xingyun. Jiang Qin, playing concealment technique in front of me, you're not bad. Mu Xingyun's body appeared not far away. There was a contemptuous smile on his face. He held 2 daggers in each hand. One was golden and the other was black. They looked like 2 poisonous snake fangs. This king will play with you today! Jiang Qin was also hot-tempered. He used ground shrink. After moving 1,000 meters, he pulled the bow with both hands. The power of the stars around him turned into sharp arrows that floated up and down. Chapter 474. The power of the stars surged like a divine rain of light. As Jiang Qin drew his bow, thousands of sharp arrows condensed from the power of the stars burst out. Like a rain of arrows, they covered the sky and pierced through the void. In the distance, a group of people was shocked and retreated. However, there were also people who were very confident. They stood on the spot and attacked with their fists and palms, wanting to fight head-on. Poof! However, reality was cruel. With a muffled sound, clusters of blood appeared on the bodies of those who fought head-on. Some of them even had their glabella pierced and their divine souls pierced, dying on the spot. Star Ocean! At that moment, Jiang Qin waved his hand and a river of stars fell. The stars flickered and the power of the stars surged like a starry sky dragon. With a roar, the starry sky dragon swooped down in front of a low-level immortal state sky pride. The dragon swiped its claws and sent him flying. Even his physical body was shattered. Then, the starry sky dragon shuttled through the void and arrived in front of the low-level immortal state sky pride again. It opened its mouth that was spewing starlight and swallowed him in one gulp. What? He's dead! At that moment, exclamations were heard one after another. Some people even left directly, not daring to continue fighting. A sage killed a low-level immortal state sky pride. How could an ordinary person compare to such combat power? Many people left. They knew that with Jiang Chen's combat power, those who were slightly weaker would be courting death. Only those true sky prides or even peerless sky prides could fight with Jiang Chen. This kind of battle could no longer be won by relying on numbers. Jiang Chen, I've been observing you for a long time. With your current cultivation, you can't use the power of the stars for a long time, right? At that moment, a young man in a golden robe walked out. He had a confident smile on his face. When he raised his eyebrows slightly, his eyes flickered with arrogance. The second holy son of the Golden Light sect, Jin Qi! Someone exclaimed. They did not expect such a peerless sky pride to be in the second small world. I've heard so much about Tianqin. It's my honor to be able to battle the reincarnation of Tianqin. Another person walked out. He had a long black saber on his back, and his entire body was emitting a dark aura. He was the holy son of the Darkness Shrine. Then, a few more peerless heaven's favorites appeared. They were all people with status and power. 13 supreme geniuses? Jiang Chen arched his brows. After 10 breaths of time, there were only 13 people left in front of him. And these 13 people's cultivation bases had all reached the middle level of the deity realm. Furthermore, their talents, aptitudes, and even their strength were considered peerless. I say, should we run? Jiang Haoran lay on Jiang Chen's body and asked. We can't beat them, right? Heh. Jiang Chen smiled contemptuously, and then said weakly. It'd be strange if he could. Whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chen turned around and left without any hesitation. A formation appeared beneath his feet, and in an instant, he was teleported 1,000 miles away. You still want to leave? Today, all of you will stay here. 1,000 miles was just a step for these deity realm prodigies. They roared angrily and arrived in front of Jiang Chen in an instant. How could Jiang Chen just sit there and wait for death? When the 13 people rushed in front of him, Jiang Chen used his duplicated body incarnation. In an instant, countless Jiang Chen appeared and flew in all directions. Even Jiang Haoran, who was on his back, was split into countless clones by the duplicated body incarnation. At this moment, the group of people was dumbfounded. Facing the clones that were like locusts, they couldn't tell that those were the real Jiang Chen and Jiang Haoran. You may be confused, but I can destroy you with the power of the wind! The holy son of the Darkness Shrine shouted coldly. He took the long saber from his back and waved it. The saber radiance swept up like a gust of wind, and a black radiance exploded. It was as if the sky had turned dark. In the next moment, wherever the saber radiance passed, the clones were all shattered and turned into smoke. After more than 10 breaths, when all the clones in this area disappeared, the crowd could no longer see Jiang Chen and Jiang Haoran. They ran away? The holy son of the Golden Light sect said in a low voice, and his face was very pale. They can't run away! At this moment, Mu Xingyan appeared in front of the crowd with a smile. An ancient mirror floated in his hand, and Jiang Chen's aura was on it. This is the 1,000 guiding mirror. It can reflect Jiang Chen's position. Mu Xingyan said. Everyone, I'll leave this 1,000 guiding mirror to you. As for whether you can kill him, that's your business. Thank you, my friend. The holy son of the Darkness Shrine said. After taking the 1,000 guiding mirror, he chased after Jiang Chen with the others according to the image shown in the mirror. At this moment, thousands of miles away from the trial ground, Jiang Chen was carrying Jiang Haoran on his back, and his forehead was covered in cold sweat. His cultivation was too low, and he could only barely use the power of the stars. Now, the stars in Jiang Chen's body had dimmed, and his essence, qi, and spirit were exhausted. He was weak all over. That was the consequence of using the power of the stars by force. They've caught up, Jiang Haoran said in a low voice, patting Jiang Chen's shoulder and said, Put me down. What are you going to do? Jiang Chen frowned and asked. We can't run away. We can only fight. Jiang Haoren sighed and said, This time, it's my turn to protect you. After saying that, a surge of righteousness erupted from Jiang Chen's body and turned into a bell-like object that enveloped Jiang Chen. Then, he took a step forward and flew forward. Come back quickly! Jiang Chen roared, and his eyes were red. He knew that Jiang Haoren had not recovered from his serious injuries. If he went now, he would not be able to come back alive. Jiang Chen wanted to rush out, but he was too weak now. He was like a cripple. He was worried and hurriedly sat down cross-legged to adjust his breathing, trying to recover quickly. Boom! Boom! After a few seconds, a series of explosions came from afar. A ray of demonic light shot through the clouds and a river of demonic chi appeared in the sky. It was obvious that Jiang Haoren and the 13 Heavens favorites had met and started fighting. Jiang Chen saw this and was extremely anxious. However, he was too weak and could not break through the barrier that Jiang Haoren placed on him. Idiot! Even after turning into a demon, he is still so stupid! Jiang Chen sighed and was getting more and more worried. However, half an hour later, Jiang Haoren was drenched in blood and rushed back from afar. He did not say anything. He grabbed Jiang Chen's shoulder and dashed into the distance. What happened? Jiang Chen asked. I killed 3. Jiang Haoren's voice was weak. Blood dripped from between his brows and even his vitality was weakening. You still want to run? The 2 of you can't run away. Half an hour later, the remaining 10 Heavens favorites chased after them. They were only 10,000 miles away from Jiang Chen and Jiang Haoren. At this moment, Jiang Chen recovered slightly. He flung Jiang Haoren's hand away and suppressed him under the ground. This time, it's my turn. Jiang Chen narrowed his eyes. Recuperate well. Wait for me to come back. You. Jiang Haoren opened his mouth but saw that Jiang Chen had already rushed back. Chapter 475. Jiang Haoren looked at Jiang Chen's back as he left, and his heart palpitated slightly. He did not speak, but calmed down and began to regulate his breathing. This was because Jiang Haoren knew that if Jiang Chen came back this time, he would definitely be seriously injured. At that time, he would have to make a move. If Jiang Chen did not come back, then Jiang Haoren would have to live on and avenge Jiang Chen. Half a day later, a piece of news came from the second small world. Jiang Chen fought against the top 10 heavenly state elites on the Ghost King slope, killed 4 of them, and retreated with serious injuries. Once this news came out, the entire second small world was in an uproar. A sage actually killed 4 peerless immortal state elites, and even fought against 10 of them alone. This combat skill was indeed brilliant. However, another piece of news soon came out. Jiang Chen was seriously injured and fled, and his limbs were cut off on the way. Is he dead? He should be dead, right? There are still 6 peerless heavenly elites. How could Jiang Chen escape? Just as everyone was guessing Jiang Chen's fate, in a canyon 300,000 miles away from the Ghost King slope, Jiang Chen stood at the entrance of the canyon. In the depths of the canyon, Jiang Chen was lying on the ground, covered in blood. His limbs were cut off, and he was healing and rebuilding his limbs. In the previous battle, Jiang Chen had not recovered, but for Jiang Haoren, he fought against the top 10 peerless heavenly elites alone. In the end, Jiang Chen had no choice but to use a secret skill. He sacrificed himself to injure the enemy. At the end of the battle, if not for Jiang Chen's tenacious perseverance and his last breath to come to Jiang Haoren's side, he would have lost his life. The 2 of you are not bad. At this moment, outside the canyon, a disciple of the Holy Light cult said contemptuously, There are so many of us, and now there are only 6 of us left. This battle record is considered brilliant. Oh, only a few of the weakest ones died. The disciple of the Dark Fane raised his eyebrows. The remaining 6 of us are not people you can deal with. When Jiang Haoren heard this, he frowned slightly and felt a little nervous. Because just as they said, the remaining 6 heavens favorites were the strongest. Any one of these 6 people would be able to show disdain for their peers. Now that the 6 of them had joined forces, Even if Jiang Haoran had been bedeviled, it would still be very difficult for him to contend against them. Moreover, Jiang Haoran was seriously injured previously and had yet to recover from his injuries. His combat strength was not at its peak. However, when Jiang Haoran thought of Jiang Chen, who was behind him in the depths of the canyon, a determined look flashed across his eyes. This time, it's my turn, Jiang Haoran thought to himself. Demonic chi surged in his eyes, and the righteous chi appeared behind him. A black river seemed to have descended from the 9 heavens. It penetrated the void and turned into a demonic dragon that coiled around Jiang Haoran's body. Jiang Haoran, I have a question. At this moment, a disciple of the Zijin sect asked. Since you've become a demon, how can you still use the great vital energy? Because. Jiang Haoran's expression was proud and aloof. Just as he was about to speak, the images of the 3 Vedanta appeared in his mind. At this moment, Jiang Haoran's expression turned strange. He raised his chin and said, Because. I'm the daddy that you will never be able to surpass. In an instant, the group of people was dumbfounded and even more confused. One had to know that Jiang Haoran had always given people a very serious feeling. He didn't even know how to joke around. But now, after becoming a demon, he even knew how to make such vulgar jokes. However, they did not know that Jiang Haoran's words were truly influenced by the 3 Vedanta. As the saying goes, one is marked by the company one keeps. Jiang Haoran was undoubtedly tainted by the company he kept. How about this? As long as you hand over the great river demonic art, I can spare you today, a paragon of the Black Cloud Mountain said with greed in his eyes. The Black Cloud Mountain was also a top sect with a long history and a deep foundation that was not weaker than the Holy Light Cult and the Darkness Shrine. The origin skill of the Black Cloud Mountain was a demonic technique. The cultivators of the Black Cloud Mountain were all demonic cultivators. Therefore, the paragons of the Black Cloud Mountain had been drooling over the Great River demonic art for a long time. You want the Great River demonic art? Come, take it yourself. Jiang Haoran narrowed his eyes and suddenly charged out. The demonic dragon on his body roared and demonic aura surged into the clouds. Instantly, the sky dimmed and the demonic dragon's roar reverberated in all directions. At the same time, Jiang Haoran formed a fist seal with his left hand. When he punched out, the void shattered instantly. The fist beam was like a black hole that arrived instantly and landed on one of the young men. Insignificant skill, the young man said disdainfully and repelled the fist beam with his palm. However, before he could react, Jiang Haoran swung the sword in his hand. A pitch-black sword beam tore through the void and slashed the top of his head. Poof! Accompanied by a dull thud, the young man was split into 2 on the spot before he could even scream. Even his soul could not escape and died on the spot. 5 left. Jiang Haoran said softly as blood spurted out from his mouth. Jiang Haoran's injuries had not healed and he had forced himself to attack again. He was now an arrow at the end of its flight. However, if he did not attack, he and Jiang Chen would have no hope of surviving. Kill! Kid! You're courting death! Seeing one of their companions killed, the other 5 were enraged. Shouts of killing could be heard as the 5 of them attacked at the same time. Spells, sword beams, boundaries, and even saber beams were like meteors that streaked across the sky, covering the entire sky. In an instant, Jiang Haoran was drowned by the violent attacks. Occasionally, one could see his figure trembling under the violent attacks. Poof! Mouthful after mouthful of blood spurted out. His internal organs were already shattered and even his soul was cracked. At this moment, Jiang Haoran smiled bitterly. He turned back to look at the depths of the canyon and muttered, From today onwards, I'm afraid you're the only one left of the Jiang family's direct bloodline. Hey, how about I discuss something with you? Suddenly, a ray of demonic light descended from the sky and shook off most of the attacks. Then, Lu Songang descended with a long sword in his hand and stood beside Jiang Haoran. I'm about to die. What's there to discuss? Jiang Haoran sighed. You're the same as me. You're also a demon. Now that you're here, Aren't you afraid of being found by your enemies? Lu Songnong wants to discuss with you. In the future, how about the three of us join forces on this blood path? At this moment, Chen Lu Dao appeared with an unruly smile on his face. He shook his head and waved at Jiang Haoran. I didn't kill her. I'll kill you. Jiang Haoran saw Chen Lu Dao and did not want to listen to his explanation. His killing intent exploded. He really didn't kill her. Lu Songnong hurriedly dissuaded him. We'll talk later. Let's settle the matter at hand first. Chapter 476. At this moment, Jiang Haoran was pressed to the ground, while Chen Lu Dao and Lu Songnong stood at the entrance of the canyon. Opposite them, 5 peerless prodigies stood side by side, their eyes filled with murderous intent. Chen Lu Dao, Lu Songnong, are the two of you here to die? The Holy Light Religion's disciple said coldly. You should know that there are many people who want to kill you on this bloody path. I knew it the moment I became a demon. Chen Lu Dao chuckled and casually tapped his ear. Isn't that good? It's more interesting to have enemies all over the world. Following my heart is my Tao, Lu Songyang said. Fine, since the 3 demons are gathered together today, I'll kill all of you together, the Dark Shrine's disciple said. He looked at the seriously injured Jiang Haoran, then at Chen Lu Dao and Lu Songnong, who had not recovered from their injuries. He said contemptuously, How can 3 crippled bodies have the courage to fight with us? If not for your crippled bodies, the 5 of you would have died long ago. Lu Songyang raised his eyebrows. The long sword in his hand vibrated as he pointed at the Dark Shrine's disciple and asked, Where's the Dark Holy Sun? The Dark Holy Sun was the first Holy Sun of the Dark Shrine. He rarely appeared in front of the world and had always been mysterious. There was a reason why Lu Songnong asked this question now. It was all because of the Dark Holy Sun that Lu Songnong became a demon. It was the Dark Holy Sun's scheme that caused Lu Songnong to become a demon. Moreover, it was also because of the Dark Holy Sun that Chen Lu Dao became a demon. The Holy Sun has already gone to the 3rd small world. I'm afraid he has already entered the 4th small world. The Dark Shrine's disciple mocked. Why? Do you want revenge? You have to leave this place alive. Jiang Haoran, that little girl of yours also died at the hands of the Dark Holy Sun, Lu Songyang suddenly said. He stared at the Dark Shrine's disciple and asked, Do you dare to admit it? Why wouldn't I? It's just killing someone. The Dark Shrine's disciple said. In this world where the strong prey on the weak, killing someone weaker than you is as easy and casual as stepping on an ant. The Holy Sun of the Darkness Sanctuary merely stepped on an ant. What's the big deal? As soon as he said that, Jiang Haoran's eyes turned bloodshot as he glared at the disciple of the Darkness Shrine. You're not the successor of the Darkness Shrine. How can I believe your words? Many people know about this. Only a fool like you thinks that Chen Lu Dao killed that woman. The disciple of the Radiant God cult mocked him. You're a fool. Don't deny it. You're really a fool. Ha! You can't even tell who killed your beloved woman. Did you hear that? Chen Lu Dao turned his head to look at Jiang Haoran. He pointed at the 5 people in front of him and said, The people from these sects all have a share. You schemed against us and made us turn into demons. Did you think that you could do anything to us? Lu Songyang said. Then, he suddenly cupped his fists and bowed. He smiled evilly and said, Thank you, everyone, for letting me know who I am. Speaking of which, I should thank all of you. Chen Lu Dao smiled and said, Turning into demons is just recognizing who you are and returning to your original self. I think that's great. 2 demons! Just kill them. At that moment, the 5 peerless sky prides did not seem to want to continue talking. After a few angry roars, the 5 of them rushed over. Their swords flashed, and their techniques turned into a sea that fell from the sky. We've been talking for so long. Do you think we're fooling around? Chen Lu Dao suddenly laughed maniacally. He pointed behind the 5 of them and said, Aren't you going to look behind you? Huh! At that moment, the 5 of them hurriedly stopped and looked back. With a single glance, The faces of the 5 people instantly turned gloomy. That was because many young men had appeared around them. These people were the followers of Chen Lu Dao and Lu Songang. There were at least 2,000 people there. The 5 of you enjoy, Chen Lu Dao said mockingly. Then, together with Lu Songyang, he helped Jiang Haoren up and walked into the depths of the canyon. Not long after, there were waves of battle outside the canyon. About half an hour later, it was quiet outside the canyon. 2 followers entered the depths of the canyon and said to Chen Lu Dao and Lu Songyang, "We've cleaned them up. It's just 5 small fries. Just clean them up," said Lu Songyang. At that moment, Jiang Chen and Jiang Haoren sat side by side. Their expressions were rather strange. Jiang Chen's limbs had been reconstructed, but his injuries had not fully healed. Jiang Haoren's injuries were even more serious. He would probably need to recuperate for a long time. "What do you mean?" After a long time, Jiang Chen asked. "Are you here to join forces with us? The competition on the blood path is too fierce and cruel," Lu Songyang said in a low voice. "The more people there are, the more hope we have to walk out of the blood path alive. There are so many people on the blood path. Why don't you find someone else?" Jiang Chen asked. I think you're mistaken. We're not here to find you. We're here to find him," Chen Lu Dao said mockingly and pointed at Jiang Haoren. "The 3 of us are now the 3 most famous demons of our generation." At that moment, Jiang Chen's old face turned red. He was quite embarrassed. He thought they were here to find him to form an alliance. In the end, he was wrong. They were here to find Jiang Haoren. Let's not talk about who's the number 1 demon first. When we get out of the blood path, the 3 of us can decide who's the best," Lu Songyang said. "Now, Chen Lu Dao and I want to put aside our previous enmity and join forces to walk out of the blood path. Actually, I don't want to become a demon." Jiang Haoren sighed. However, Jiang Haoren had no choice now. Moreover, since the woman he loved was not killed by Chen Lu Dao, there was no harm in joining forces with Chen Lu Dao. "By the way, why did the Dark Holy Sun want you to become a demon?" Jiang Haoren asked. "You're from the Haoqi sect, I'm from the Tiangang Sword sect, and he's from the Ichi sect. Our 3 sects are known as the most righteous sects in the godless continent," Lu Songyang said. "Our 3 sects have a strong appeal. If the 3 sects join forces, our power will not be weaker than the martial pavilion. So, the martial pavilion is afraid, so they joined forces with the Dark Shrine and used the Dark Holy Sun to plot against you to become a demon?" Jiang Chen asked. "That's right." Chen Lu Dao pursed his lips and said, "The 3 most righteous sects ended up with 3 little demons. This has a great impact on the reputation and prestige of the sections. Now, the news of us becoming demons has probably spread to the outside world. I've probably been expelled from the sect," Lu Songyang said with a bitter smile. "It's about the same for me," Chen Lu Dao said with a smile. He looked very indifferent and said, "That's good too. From now on, I, Chen Lu Dao, can do whatever I want." Chapter 477. "I won't be expelled, right?" Jiang Haoren muttered. You're the only disciple left in the Haoqi sect. If you're expelled, the Haoqi sect will have no more descendants," Chen Lu Dao joked. "But the number of people you've killed is no less than the 2 of us. If you're all expelled from the sect, then why don't you come to my Qianzuan sect?" Jiang Chen's eyes shone with a cunning light as he plotted in his heart. Jiang Haoren and the other 2 immediately shook their heads. "No." Lu Songyang was the first to say. "The Qianzuan sect has long since declined. What's more, the Qianzuan sect is now at odds with the martial pavilion. Sooner or later they'll be played to death by the martial pavilion," Chen Lu Dao said. "I want to go home," Jiang Haoren said directly. "If the Haoqi sect really expels me, then I'll go back to the Jiang family." Jiang Chen's expression turned serious when he heard that. He said, "The Qianzuan sect has only declined temporarily. Now that I've returned, the Qianzuan sect is destined to rise again. Wait until you walk out of the bloody path alive, Lu Songyang said disdainfully. You're the weakest here. Jiang Chun was speechless. These three demons were each stronger than the other. Jiang Chun was only at the sage realm. How could he compare to these three demons? However, if they really fought, Jiang Chun was not afraid. Although he might not win, at least he would not lose. Let's heal here, Chen Ludao said. When your injuries are healed, we'll go to the third small world. The Dark Holy Sun will pay for this sooner or later, Lu Songyang said in a deep voice. Jiang Haoren nodded, murderous intent flashing in his eyes. Next, everyone sat cross-legged and began to cultivate and heal their injuries. Lu Songyang and Chen Liudao's followers surrounded the entire canyon to prevent anyone from disturbing them. The following days passed very peacefully. Jiang Chun and the others would occasionally wake up, but most of the time, they were healing their injuries. 7 days later. On this day, Jiang Chun and the others' injuries had all healed. The four of them got up and led a group of followers to the trial ground of the second small world. Why are these four guys walking together? Oh my God! 3 devils, plus the reincarnation of Tian Chen. Along the way, many people saw Jiang Chen's group and were moved. This lineup. I'm afraid it can be ranked in the top 10 of the Blood Road, right? Someone said. Apart from the few strongest Heaven's Prides, the others. I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for them to contend against them. Someone sighed. Now, the bloody path had been open for quite some time. The vast majority of people had already formed their own teams, forming their own great powers. The most famous ones were the Dark Alliance led by the Dark Holy Sun, and the Radiant God cult's second Holy Son, Wei Xian. There were more than 30,000 people in the two alliances. Moreover, there were many peerless geniuses in these two alliances. There was no lack of saints from other sects. They were willing to follow the Holy Son of Darkness and Wei Xian because these two people were simply too strong. However, there was one thing that made people puzzled. The martial pavilion's Holy Son of this generation had also entered the path of blood, but until now, there had been no news at all. Could it be that he was dead? Or had he been hiding his identity all this time? Logically speaking, with the martial pavilion's foundation and strength in the outside world, their Holy Son would definitely make a big fuss after entering the path of blood. But now, there was no news of the martial pavilion's Holy Son at all. On the other hand, the Holy Sons of the Radiant God cult and the Dark Shrine were very active in the path of blood. Generally speaking, the more active a person is, the earlier they die. Lu Songyang curled his lips and said, One must keep a low profile. Yes, keep a low profile like you and me. Chen Ludao nodded. Jiang Chun rolled his eyes. These two still had the cheek to say that he was keeping a low profile. In this second small world, the number of people you two killed added up to at least 10,000, if not 20,000, right? Was this keeping a low profile? The Holy Son of the Universe sect has appeared. Just as everyone arrived at the trial ground, there was a cry of surprise. Then, they saw a young man standing in the trial ground. His posture was tall and straight, like a vigorous ancient tree. In the trial ground, thunder roared and spells rose and fell, but they were unable to harm him at all. And this person was the Holy Son of the Universe sect. No one knew his name. They only called him Universe sect. As for the lower gate of heaven and earth, it was an ancient inheritance sect that had existed since the primordial era. This sect was very mysterious. No one even knew where the mountain gate was. However, there was one thing that everyone knew. The people of the Universe sect were all very strong. Especially the Holy Son of the Universe sect. It was said that every time he appeared, he could look down on his peers. The people of this sect have also appeared? Jiang Chun whispered. He had some understanding of the Universe sect. The Universe sect was a subsidiary sect of the Universe sect. According to Jiang Chen's knowledge, since the people of the Universe sect had appeared, it meant that the people of the Universe sect had also appeared. The appearance of the people of the upper and lower sects meant that the two sects would merge. There was an ancient record that the upper and lower sects of the Universe sect had appeared at the same time in the ancient times. Then, they set off a storm in the godless continent, and finally unified the godless continent. It seems that this generation is destined to be extraordinary. Even the universe sect has appeared, Jiang Chen thought to himself. Big news! The Holy Son of the highest heavens fought fiercely with the Dark Holy Sun in the third small world for 3 days. In the end, the Dark Holy Sun fled in defeat. At this moment, an explosive piece of news came out. Someone obtained the news through some means that the Dark Holy Sun was defeated. Defeated? Chen Lu Dao frowned and muttered. Impossible, right? With the Dark Holy Sun's strength, how could he be defeated? Lu Songang was also stunned and said, If he was defeated, he should be defeated by me. Highest heavens? At this moment, Jiang Chen did not care about the Dark Holy Sun's defeat. In Jiang Chen's heart, there were only 3 words, highest heavens. This was an extremely mysterious sect. It was said that this sect had existed since the beginning of the godless continent. However, this sect almost never appeared. Even if it appeared, it would leave casually and quickly disappear from everyone's sight. Since ancient times, the only time the highest heavens fought was when it went to war with the Dongxing dynasty. That battle did not happen. There were rumors that it was the Dongxing dynasty who asked for peace. Highest heavens, what kind of sect is it? Jiang Chen thought. He always had a strange feeling about the highest heavens. What highest heavens? How dare they name their sect after the highest heavens? How arrogant! At this moment, the Holy Son of the lower sect of the universe sect spoke. When he opened and closed his eyes, it was as if the universe was floating in the depths of his eyes. I'll go to the third small world and meet the Holy Son of the highest heavens, said the lower sect of the universe sect. After passing the trial, he stepped out, stood on the altar, and disappeared. Chapter 478. Qianquan sect, Qianquan! Someone shouted, seemingly very optimistic about Qianquan. However, there were also people who scoffed, thinking that Qianquan was no match for the Saint of 9 Clouds. Jiang Chen did not care about this. He was now wondering what the outside world would be like after leaving the bloody path. The Qianquan sect had appeared, and 9 Clouds had also appeared. The outside world was probably in chaos now, right? Could the martial pavilion, the overlord of the godless continent, still continue to rule? Let's also enter. After several breaths, Jiang Chen said in a soft voice, as he led Jiang Haoren and his companions into the trial ground. This time, no one dared to stop them, because the 3 great demons teaming up, plus Tian Chen's reincarnation, were enough to intimidate most people. Moreover, Lu Songang and Chen Lu Dao had thousands of followers behind them. The trial of the second small world was no pressure for Jiang Chen and the rest. In just half an instant's time, everyone passed the trial one after another, stepped onto the altar, and entered the third small world. Once he arrived at the third small world, Jiang Chen's face fell. Because he was teleported to the Jade Lady Palace. There were a total of 6 palaces at the third small world's teleportation point. They were the Demon God Palace, Human Palace, Mad Demon Palace, Earth Palace, Sky Palace, and Jade Lady Palace. Most of the people in the Demon God Palace were demons, a mix of good and bad people. The Human Palace was filled with humans, but they were basically all men. As for Mad Demon Palace, it was a place specially arranged for demonic cultivators. The Earth Palace and Sky Palace were where some peerless geniuses were. Of course, when entering the third small world from the second small world, it was all randomly assigned. Some people were lucky and were assigned to the Sky Palace. There were also people who had terrible luck. As humans, they were assigned to Fey God Palace. However, for the current Jiang Chen, he felt that his luck was extremely bad. Because among the 6 palaces, there was a Jade Lady Palace. As the name implied, only female cultivators would be teleported here. Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. He never thought that he would be teleported to the Jade Lady Palace. Please! I'm a gentleman, not a lecherous man! Jiang Chen wanted to cry, but had no tears. Standing on the altar of the Jade Lady Palace, he didn't dare take even half a step forward. It wasn't that Jiang Chen was afraid. It was just that the entire palace was filled with women, and he was the only man. This was very awkward. Why did another man enter the Jade Lady Palace? At this moment, someone saw Jiang Chen and exclaimed, immediately attracting the attention of the surrounding people. He looks so familiar. He seems to be the reincarnation of the heavenly stellar god king. After a few breaths, the surrounding people rushed over. Each of their eyes were filled with love. The bolder ones even went up to Jiang Chen and pinched his face. They even shouted excitedly, "It's true! He's a living person!" Cough, cough. I'll tell you. Jiang Chen's face turned red. Being stared at by so many women and being touched all over, Jiang Chen was about to collapse. However, before he could finish speaking, a purple-clothed woman walked over. Luo Yang! Godless Continent's number 2 beauty list, Luo Yang by the Luoshui River! At this moment, exclamations sounded from all around, opening up a path for Luo Yang. Luo Yang did not say anything. Her expression was calm as she slowly walked in front of Jiang Chen. She's really beautiful. Jiang Chen was moved. He had seen many peerless beauties, but he never thought that there would be a beauty like Luo Yang in this world. This person's facial features seemed to have been carved by a heavenly craftsman. There was not a single flaw to be found. Her figure was even more fiery. It was protruding and concave where it should be. Especially that waist. Others had slender waists, but Luo Yang's waist could be described as a spirit snake's waist. Have you seen enough? At this moment, Luo Yang frowned and said, Follow me if you've seen enough. Ah? What? At this moment, exclamations sounded again. Furthermore, the exclamations this time were like thunder. Of course, what shocked everyone was not that Luo Yang wanted Jiang Chen to follow her. Instead, Luo Yang's voice was actually a man. A man! The second beauty on the Godless Continent's flower list is a man. Oh my God! Are you kidding me? The group of people were dumbfounded. They thought to themselves, could a man's appearance and figure be so good? How were these women supposed to live? Even Jiang Chen was stunned for a moment. The brilliance of the sun and moon appeared in his eyes as he stared at Luo Yang. After taking a few careful glances, he confirmed it. F***CK. It was really a man. The yin qi here is too strong. It's really uncomfortable, Luo Yang said, frowning. Waving his hand at Jiang Chen, he said, We're two men. Let's find a clean place so that we won't be eroded by the surrounding yin energy. Oh. Jiang Chen did not react for a moment, and followed Luo Yang out in a daze. Although the Jade Lady Palace was a palace, it was actually very wide. Inside the palace, there were mountains, rivers, and even birds and beasts. It was like a small world inside the palace. At this moment, Jiang Chen and Luo Yang came to the side of a stream. Luo Yang stopped and turned to look at Jiang Chen. He asked, Are you really the reincarnation of Divine King Tian Chen? When Jiang Chen heard this, he could not help but nod. Now that this secret was known to all, it was no longer a secret. Then do you have a way to let me have? The more Luo Yang spoke, the softer his voice became. In the end, even Jiang Chen could not hear him. What? Speak louder! Jiang Chen said snappily. I want to become an upright man. Luo Yang's eyes narrowed as his chest heaved up and down. It was as if he had mustered up all his courage to say these words. Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. He stared at Luo Yang and thought to himself that Luo Yang's appearance was indeed very easy to be misunderstood. Especially the mountain peak on his chest. Wasn't this too big? How could a man have such a huge mountain peak? What's going on with your situation? Jiang Chen asked. Two souls coexisting, Luo Yang said. There are two souls in this body, a man and a woman. One day, the woman's soul disappeared and the man's soul took control of this body. However, the female characteristics of this body. When Jiang Chen heard this, he immediately felt relieved. It turned out that there were once two souls in this body. This is a little tricky. Jiangchen frowned and said, changing the female characteristics of the body is not a problem, but the key is still to change the soul. If you don't change your soul and only change your body, it won't be long before your body returns to its current state. Jiangchen explained. You two once coexisted. After the female soul disappeared, there should still be a portion left behind that was branded with your soul, right? Yes. Luo Yang nodded and said, it's branded in my soul and can't be removed. Chapter 479. It was very rare for two souls to coexist. After reaching adulthood, one of the two souls would wither away and inject its own soul force into the other soul to help it grow. Luoyang was like this. The female soul had withered away, as if it had turned into nourishment, and was injected into the male soul. However, a portion of his soul had fused with the male soul, causing his body to become like this. Changing the soul was actually quite simple for Jiangchen, but he needed some heavenly treasures to refine a few pills. But now, where could he find those heavenly treasures, and he didn't have the time to refine them. If you are willing to help me, I will help you in the future. Luoyang did not say much, but there was not a trace of falsehood in his eyes. Regarding this, Jiangchen waved his hand and said, it's a small matter, but first, we have to find the resurrection grass and the spirit-expelling flower, these two heavenly treasures. Otherwise, I really can't help you with this. There are many heavenly treasures in the blood path. I will go look for them when the time comes. Luoyang said. That's fine too. Jiangchen said softly. However, suddenly, Jiangchen saw a slight change in Luoyang's expression. Especially his pupils, there was actually a wisp of purple light. From now on, stay away from this body. At this moment, Luoyang stared at him. His voice was cold, but there was a hint of a woman. Jiangchen was dumbfounded. A second ago, it was still a man's voice. Why did it change in the next second? You are Luoyang? Jiangchen asked. Luoshe. Luoyang said in a deep voice, his face cold and arrogant. Jiangchen was confused. It was clearly Luoyang, so why did he call himself Luoshui? My soul hasn't disappeared, and neither has his soul. It's Luoyang during the day and Luoshui at night. Luoshui said. With that said, Jiangchen couldn't help but look up at the sky, just in time to see the first moon rise. It's not a dual soul coexistence, is it? Jiangchen frowned. Who told you it's a dual soul coexistence? Luoshui raised his eyebrows and said. It was Luoyang who told you, right? Then he's a fool. Jiangchen was speechless. He thought to himself, you are the same person, is there a need to say that? Two-faced soul. Soon after, Jiangchen revealed the relationship between Luoyang and Luoshui. They did not have two souls. To be more precise, there was only one soul in this body. However, this soul was split into two sides. One side was the Luoyang that appeared during the day, and the other side was the Luoshui that appeared during the night. Jiangchen could solve the problem of having two souls coexisting, but Jiangchen couldn't solve the problem of having two souls. Because this was not king disease. Then how am I going to explain it to Luoyang during the day? Jiangchen said with a bitter smile. He still thinks that the two of you have two souls. Can't you just fool them? Luo Shui said softly. Once you enter the heaven tier, the two souls will become one. At that time, it will be me during the day and at night. Are you the main body of this soul? Jiangchen asked. What else could it be? Luo Shui glared and said, if Luoyang was the main body, do you think this fleshly body would still be able to grow to such a state? That's true. Jiangchen muttered. After saying that, Jiangchen looked at Luo Shui indifferently and said, what do you plan to do now? Of course, go to the heavenly palace. Luo Shui said. In the third small world, the best cultivation resources, the best heavenly treasures, and even the cultivation techniques and martial skills are all in the heavenly palace. But can you do it? Jiangchen curled his lips and said. One had to know that in order to enter the heavenly palace, one had to go through 18 twists and turns and go through 9 tribulations. And Luo Shui's strength, no matter how Jiang Chun looked at it, did not feel that it was strong. However, in the next moment, when Luo Shui's aura erupted, Jiang Chen's face instantly turned pale, and a layer of cold sweat appeared on his back. Upper level of the God tier. Jiang Chen almost screamed. The time that the bloody path had been opened was not short, but not long either. Now, according to Jiang Chen's knowledge, the strongest was only in the middle level of the God tier. But now Luo Shui. Upper level of the God tier. This was probably the first person to step into the upper level of the God tier in the bloody path. Since you have the strength of the upper level of the God tier, why are you looking for me? Jiang Chen said gloomily. It's not that I'm looking for you, it's Luo Yang who's looking for you. Luo Shui glanced sideways, and a trace of contempt flashed in her eyes as she said, You're so weak, how can I look for you? Hey! I say, can you not look down on me so openly? I'm the reincarnation of Divine King Tian Chen. At the very least, give me some face. Jiang Chen said with a black face. So what if I don't give you face? Fight? Luo Shui raised her eyebrows and said. She stretched out her slender hand and hooked her finger at Jiang Chen, saying, Come? Little sister, I was wrong. Jiang Chen's speed of admitting defeat had always been very fast. Especially when facing a beauty with no enmity. If Jiang Chen's speed of admitting defeat was second, no one would dare to say they were first. 3 days later, let's begin. Luo Shui said, and then closed her eyes and began to cultivate. Jiang Chen did not say much. He looked around and frowned. He could not help but sit cross-legged beside Luo Shui. Oh? Luo Shui's eyes flashed with a cold light as she said coldly, What are you doing? Aren't I afraid of being ambushed? I'll be closer to you, and you can protect me a little. Jiang Chen licked his face and said, What kind of joke was this? Ever since heaven was crowned, Jiang Chen had become the enemy of the entire world. Now, to let him cultivate without the protection of arrays, barriers, and restrictions, wasn't that courting death? Fortunately, he had Luo Shui by his side, and this fellow should be able to protect him. I can protect you, but you can't tell Luo Yang about what I told you tonight, Luo Shui said. Don't worry. Jiang Chen nodded and said. Then, the two of them stopped talking and began to cultivate. But in reality, Jiang Chen was not in the mood to cultivate. Especially when he saw Luo Shui's long legs, her slender waist, and the pair of towering peaks. How could Jiang Chen still have the mood to cultivate? Throughout the night, Jiang Chen had been squinting his eyes and peeking out of the corner of his eye. When dawn broke, Luo Shui opened her eyes. With a teasing look in her eyes, she asked, Is it beautiful? Jiang Chen's face turned red. So Luo Shui knew that he was peeking. This isn't appropriate. Where will this king put his old face? Protect Luo Yang well. I'll let you see enough in the future. Luo Shui suddenly smiled charmingly, and then the purple light in her eyes disappeared. Immediately after, Luo Yang's side appeared. He rubbed his head and said, It's really strange. I'm already at the lower level of the divine realm. Why do I have to sleep every night? Hee hee. Jiang Chen chuckled and said, Maybe it's a habit. Of course, Jiang Chen wouldn't tell Luo Yang about what had happened at the Luo River. He only comforted him. Don't worry. When we find the rare treasure, I'll help you change your soul so that you can be a real man. As expected of Tian Chen. What a brother! Luo Yang didn't say much and hugged Jiang Chen, not caring that he was a woman. Luo Shui. This is Luo Yang who wants to hug me. It has nothing to do with me. I refuse in my heart. Jiang Chen thought in his heart, but his hands were very honest. He secretly pinched her butt. Chapter 480. Luo Yang had always treated himself as a man, so he didn't care about Jiang Chen's actions at all. He even patted Jiang Chen's shoulder and said, You must help me. Don't worry. Jiang Chen patted his chest and promised, but his heart was so weak that he wanted to die. What kind of joke is this? How can I help you like this? Even if I find a heavenly treasure and refine a pill, it will be difficult for me to help you. In 3 days, the trial will begin. Let's make the best use of these 3 days to cultivate, Jiangchen said. The third small world's trial grounds were these 6 palaces. Only those who entered the underground palace could enter the fourth small world. However, many people's ultimate goal was not the underground palace, but the heavenly palace. This was because there were many treasures in the heavenly palace, and there were even many long-lost cultivation methods, martial skills, and even secret and forbidden techniques. These things were treasures to any sect. Most importantly, anyone who entered the bloody path would praise themselves as geniuses, monsters. They were proud and arrogant, and they would not submit to anyone. Although many people had never fought with each other, there were still secret competitions. Just like now, many geniuses were secretly competing to see who could enter the heavenly palace first. For Jiangchen, entering the heavenly palace was not a big problem. The problem was whether he would encounter enemies after entering the heavenly palace. One had to know that those who could enter the heavenly palace were all peerless geniuses. If he encountered a large group of enemies in the heavenly palace, Jiang Chen's situation would be very dangerous. However, when he thought of Luo Shui's upper-level God realm cultivation, Jiang Chen's heart calmed down a lot. In the next 3 days, Jiang Chen cultivated with Luo Yang during the day and secretly glanced at Luo Shui with admiration at night. His days were very comfortable. Until 3 days later, in the morning, on this day, altars appeared in the various palaces. There were array formations and restrictions around the altars, and there were also obscure runes that flickered like stars. And these altars were where the trial was located. 16 professions, 16 altars, plus a special altar for those with special professions to train. Jiang Qin and Luo Yang stood side by side as they looked at the 17 altars in the Jade Lady Palace's main hall. Their eyes could not help but flash with a trace of depression. This was because Jiang Qin was proficient in all professions. I'll go first. Luo Yang was very decisive. He took a step forward and stood on the 17th altar. This was an altar specially designed for special classes. This left Jiang Qin puzzled. During this period of time, he had not heard of Luo Yang's occupation. From the looks of it, it should also be a rare profession. Meditate on all of them? At this moment, Jiang Qin hesitated for a while and then walked toward the first altar. Just after that, Jiang Qin felt a dreadful pressure being added to his body amidst the radiance. This was the Martial Master Trial Altar. On the other hand, martial masters specialized in cultivating their physical bodies. As the pressure became stronger and stronger, Jiang Qin still stood tall and straight, like a vigorous ancient tree. He didn't move even an inch. On the surface of his body, a layer of purple-gold radiance circulated, giving off the feeling of an emperor. And as the pressure increased, Jiang Qin could feel that his body was gradually changing. His flesh and blood became purer, and his blood vitality became more vigorous. After half an incense stick's time, the light on the altar disappeared. Jiang Qin walked out of the altar unscathed. At the same time, a rune fell into Jiang Chen's hand. This rune was a key. If he entered the underground palace in the future, or even the sky palace, he would need it. And to obtain this key, he had to pass the trial here. He went to the Martial Master Trial Altar. At this moment, a woman exclaimed in surprise. Everyone looked over at the same time and saw Jiang Qin standing on the Arcane Master's Trial Altars. He dual cultivates martial arts. Someone asked. I say, are you all stupid? He is the reincarnation of God King Tianqin. He is proficient in all professions. One of the women rolled her eyes. Then, her eyes sparkled as she muttered, only a man like this is worthy of me. How could God King Tianqin like you? Stop arguing. When this old lady becomes a god, I will add him to my harem of 3,000. Hearing the conversations of the women around him, Jiang Chen's heart trembled. What's going on? These women, in front of others, they act like virtuous ladies. Why are they acting like hungry wolves in front of me? Could it be that this was differential treatment? Or do they really think that I, Jiang Yi, am a delicious cake that anyone can take a bite out of? Not bad, my mental strength has increased by a lot. Half an incense stick's time later, Jiang Chen walked down from the martial master trial altar. He felt refreshed and his mental strength had increased by a lot. Then, he entered the sword master's trial altar. At this moment, sword flashes shot into the sky above the altar. Sword shadows danced around Jiang Chen like butterflies. Jiang Chen swayed his body on the altar and dodged the sword shadows. At the same time, powerful sword intents rushed into Jiang Chen's mind. Not bad. But compared to the barren sword intent, it is still lacking. Jiang Chen chuckled. After another hour had passed, Jiang Chen walked down from the sword master's trial altar. He happened to see Luo Yang walking down from the altar too. Jiang Chen walked over and asked curiously, "Speaking of which, what's your profession?" "Earth emissary," Luo Yang whispered, a trace of pride flashing across his eyes. Jiang Chen was struck dumb when he heard that. Earth emissary had not appeared for tens of thousands of years. This was a profession that could truly control the power of the earth. According to legend, as long as the earth emissary stood on the ground, he would not be defeated. What's going on in this life? Even the earth emissary profession has appeared. Jiang Chen thought, is this really a great era? Wait for me here, Jiang Chen said in a low voice. Next, Jiang Chen walked through the remaining martial master trial altars and easily passed all the trials. So far, Jiang Chen had a total of 17 key runes in his hand. After passing the trials here, he could use the rune key in his hand to enter the underground palace. After entering the underground palace, he could enter the sky palace after going through 18 bends and 9 tribulations. However, these 18 bends and 9 tribulations were very dangerous. Since ancient times, countless prodigies had died in these 18 bends and 9 tribulations. 17 rune keys, you can directly enter the sky palace, Luo Yang said enviously. 1 rune key could enter the underground palace. 3 or more could directly enter the sky palace. And Jiang Chen had a total of 17 rune keys. When Jiang Chen heard this, he said in all seriousness, "I said that I would help you. From now on, I will accompany you through thick and thin. If I were really a woman, I might really be moved by you," Luo Yang muttered, wiping the cold sweat on his forehead. "Fortunately, I'm a man." Chapter 481. Hee. Male or female, what the hell do you know? Jiang Chen snickered in his heart. The reason why he wanted to be with Luo Yang was so that he could see more of Luo Shui. Of course, the most important thing was that Luo Shui asked Jiang Chen to help Luo Yang. Could Jiang Chen not help? Did he dare not help? If Luo Shui was angry, with his cultivation at the upper level of the God realm, killing Jiang Chen was just a matter of a slap. Moreover, Jiang Chen also needed a strong helper, and Luo Shui at night was the best candidate. In any case, everyone was mutually beneficial. Following that, Jiang Chen and Luo Yang entered the depths of the palace. There was a teleportation array there, and as long as the rune key was placed on it, they could enter the underground palace and even the sky palace. Jiang Chen only placed 1 rune key, and then was teleported to the underground palace with Luo Yang. The underground palace was very big, and could even be described as a small world. There were mountains and rivers here, and even lakes and towering mountain peaks. Inside the underground palace, there was a very large ancient city. Anyone who had just entered the underground palace would be teleported here. The second beauty in the world, Luo Yang! Luo Yang! Just as Jiang Chen and Luo Yang were teleported out, exclamations and screams came from all around. Luo Yang frowned, and a trace of helplessness and disgust flashed across her eyes. Because in Luo Yang's heart, he was a man. But in the eyes of others, Luo Yang was the second beauty of the godless continent. "Luo Yang, why are you with Jiang Chen?" someone said. "This kind of person will die sooner or later." Aren't you afraid of implicating yourself by being with him? He is the reincarnation of Divine King Tianchen. Luo Yang's eyes focused. I believe him. One had to know that mortals had an indescribable sense of trust in gods. Just like when Luo Yang first found Jiangqin, it was because Jiangqin was the reincarnation of Tianqin. That was all. And in Luo Yang's eyes, only such a person could help her change her soul. Therefore, the two of them walked together. Moreover, who I am with, what does it have to do with you? Luo Yang said solemnly. Just as Luo Yang said that, Jiang Chen's hair stood on end. This was because Luo Yang's voice had changed. Looking up at the sky again, a bright moon was already hanging high in the sky. This meant that the person in control of this body was Luo Shui. Luo Yang! You have an engagement with the Azure Sea Sect's holy son, how can you be together with another man? At this moment, a young man in an obscure robe walked out, his eyes flickering with anger. This person was a disciple of the Zhengming sect. He was extremely powerful, and his cultivation had reached the lower level of the deity realm. Is the holy son of the Azure Sea sect worthy of me? Luo Shui was very cold. His ice-cold voice contained a sense of arrogance. Moreover, after he finished speaking, the corners of Luo Shui's mouth suddenly curled up slightly, revealing a trace of ridicule. He pointed at Jiangqin beside him and said, Can the Azure Sea sect's holy son compare to him? Me? Jiang Chen's face was in a mess. Looking at the sly smile on Luo Shui's lips, he instantly understood that he had been tricked. He's just a piece of trash at the saint stage. No matter how glorious he was in the past, he's just an ant in our eyes now. The Azure Sea sect's holy son said in a deep voice. There's no need for the Azure Sea sect's holy son to make a move. I can suppress him. Ha ha ha, whose disciple is this? Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Although Jiang Chen's cultivation is a little low, do you know what he did after entering the bloody path? His current reputation is not below that of the Azure Sea sect's holy son. Can a disciple of the Azure Sea sect like you fight against 10 peerless geniuses alone? At this moment, everyone around, regardless of whether they had enmity with Jiangqin or not, spoke one after another. Some mocked the Azure Sea sect's disciple, while others slandered Jiangqin. In response, Jiangqin's face did not change at all. He only smiled at the crowd. The Azure Sea sect's disciple's face was flushed red. How could he let it go after being ridiculed like this? In the next moment, he took a step forward and pointed at Jiangqin, saying, Do you dare to fight with me? You're asking him if he dares? Ha ha ha, he even dares to fight against a peerless genius at the middle level of the god stage. What are you, a lower level god stage, worth? Someone mocked. However, just as he finished speaking, Jiangqin smiled and shook his head, saying, I don't dare. What? At this moment, the group of people was dumbfounded. Back in the second small world, Jiangqin fought against 10 peerless geniuses alone and fought against them. Now, facing a lower-level god stage youth, he was actually afraid to fight? This was not appropriate, right? Luo Yang and the Azure Sea sect's holy son have an engagement, and he's also a disciple of the Azure Sea sect. This is their family matter. It's not appropriate for an outsider like me to interfere, Jiangqin said with a smile. He would not help Luo Shui. This girl clearly wanted to kill someone with a borrowed knife. Hubby, that's not what you said last night. However, what surprised everyone was that after Luo Shui heard Jiangqin's words, a layer of mist suddenly appeared in her eyes. Her long eyelashes blinked, and the tears in her eyes seemed to be about to fall. Her face was full of grievance and shyness, which really made the hearts of the surrounding male compatriots twitch fiercely. Beast! What a beast! At this moment, Jiangqin was dumbfounded. Waiting for Luo Shui, it was very chaotic. I say, can you be more normal? Jiangqin's face darkened and said, This is really your family matter. It has nothing to do with me. Could it be that I've only slept with you? Luo Shui's expression became more and more aggrieved, and bean-sized tears flowed down. At this moment, someone could not stand it anymore. He stepped forward and said to Luo Shui, I'll help you settle this matter. From now on, you'll follow me. I don't mind your past. Jiang Chen. To think that you're the reincarnation of Tian Chen. I never thought that you were such a scum. Merciless. Someone shouted angrily. When Jiang Chen heard this, his face darkened. He glared at Luo Shui, and then a smile appeared on his face. The next moment, in front of everyone, Jiang Chen hugged Luo Shui's waist and pulled her into his arms. Then, he kissed her cherry-like lips fiercely. At this moment, it was Luo Shui's turn to be dumbfounded. Her eyes widened as she stared at the face in front of her. Her mind was blank. You want to play with me? Can you afford to play with me? Jiang Chen narrowed his eyes. Really, this woman's lips were really soft. Too much. Beast. Showing off love in public and spreading dog food. This is simply unforgivable. The second most beautiful woman in the godless continent has actually been taken by this pig. At this moment, wails sounded one after another. Some people even beat their chests and stamped their feet, looking like they had nothing to live for. You. Very. Good. After more than 10 breaths, Luo Shui reacted and pushed Jiang Chen away with a smile. The words, "You're very good," jumped out from between her teeth. It could be seen how furious Luo Shui was at this moment. Chapter 482. At this moment, the ancient city in the underground palace was in an uproar. Some people beat their chests and stamped their feet, some had nothing to live for, and some glared at Jiang Chen, as if they wanted to fight him. Jiang Chen looked at the people around him and felt even more upset. If you guys are so envious, then why don't you do it? Do you dare? One had to know that Luo Shui's cultivation had reached the upper level of the divine realm. How despicable! Today, no matter what, I will teach you a lesson on behalf of the Holy Sun! The disciple of the Azure Sea sect roared. He took a step forward and a dark light flickered on his body. Then, his body turned into a stream of light and rushed out. However, his figure turned into nothingness halfway and disappeared. Dark Master? Someone frowned and said, The Azure Sea sect has a unique Dark Master cultivation method and martial technique. It's very difficult to deal with. Bang! However, in the next moment, everyone heard a muffled sound and saw that the Azure Sea sect disciple was sent flying by a slender hand. This is my husband. You can't be presumptuous, Luo Shui said seriously. When these words came out, Jiang Chen immediately felt a murderous gaze from all around him. Damn it, Luo Shui, this woman, was taking revenge on him. Everyone knew that Luo Shui and the Azure Sea sect's holy son were engaged, but now Luo Shui had slandered Jiang Chen in front of so many people. This, even if he jumped into the Yellow River, he wouldn't be able to clear his name. A pair of adulterous couple. My Azure Sea sect will not let you off! The Azure Sea sect disciple who was sent flying roared. Not only was there anger in his eyes, there was also humiliation and shame. His holy son's woman had run away with someone else, and in front of so many people, she had made his holy son wear a green hat. If this matter were to spread, not only would his holy son lose face, even the Azure Sea sect would lose face. What good will it do you to do this? At this moment, Jiang Chen's face was dark as he whispered into Luo Shui's ear. No good. Luo Shui frowned and said, But I don't want to be disturbed by others, so I might as well find someone to block it for me. The F***CK? So this shield is me? Jiang Chen's expression became more and more unsightly, but after a few breaths, Jiang Chen's expression returned to normal. What could he do? He could not defeat the Luo River. He had to swallow his anger. The holy son of the Azure Sea sect has already entered the Sky Palace. If you two have the guts, go to the Sky Palace. Someone shouted. Jiang Chen must die. I'm afraid Luoyang will become someone else's exclusive property. Someone whispered as their eyes burned with greed. Jiang Chen, on the other hand, didn't have much of a problem. After all, the entire world was his enemy, and he was already used to this kind of verbal warfare. However, Luo Shui could not tolerate this. She was originally proud and aloof, and her heart was as cold as ice. How could she endure the ridicule and humiliation of these people? At this moment, Luo Shui's aura soared. A cold glint flickered in his eyes as his body slowly floated into the air. He was like an exiled immortal that was fluttering in the sky. Bolts of lightning flickered around him, and the tune of the grand Tao transformed into the sound of a bell. Boom! In the next moment, Luo Shui did not say a word. His white jade-like palms slowly pressed down. In an instant, wind, fire, and lightning erupted, and the power of light and darkness fluctuated. It was like a violent storm that drowned the people below. Ah! Luo Yang! What are you doing? Stop it! Below, some people were screaming, some were begging for mercy, and some were shouting angrily, trying to resist. However, what awaited them was not Luo Shui's voice, but an even more terrifying wind, fire, and lightning. Luo Shui seemed to have gone berserk. With her cultivation at the upper level of the immortal state, she attacked the cultivators below indiscriminately. After this round, if not thousands of people died, then they would be letting down their cultivation at the upper level of the immortal state. Jiang Chen watched from the side, trembling in fear. He did not expect Luo Shui to have such a fierce side. Recalling the scene of him sneaking glances at Luo Shui, Jiang Chen could not help but feel a chill run down his back. Fortunately, I did not anger her back then, Jiang Chen muttered. Luo Yang! It's about time! At this moment, a red-clothed youth flew over, and a terrifying pressure filled the air. How many times have I told you? My name is Luo Shui, Luo Shui said in a deep voice. However, in the eyes of the world, there was only Luo Yang, not Luo Shui. Stop it, the red-clothed youth said. They have no enmity with you. Can I kill without enmity? Luo Shui said coldly. If you want to blame someone, blame their foul mouths. After saying that, Luo Shui raised her eyebrows, stared at the red-clothed youth, and said disdainfully, Yang Tian, you want to fight with me? Hearing this, Yang Tian immediately shook his head and smiled bitterly. How would I dare? I can't beat you. Obviously, Yang Tian also knew how terrifying Luo Shui's strength was. Fortunately, Luo Shui was not a murderous person. After causing a ruckus, she did not kill many people and stopped. Then, under the crowd's jealous and envious gazes, Luo Shui held Jiang Chen's hand. She smiled gently and charmingly. She said, Husband, let's go and walk the 18 twists and 9 tribulations. I said I'm not going. Can I? Jiang Chen's body stiffened. For the first time, he experienced the feeling of being held by a beautiful woman but trembling in fear. This feeling was simply worse than death. No. I think it's more comfortable to die. This woman is really beautiful. It's a pity that she's been taken by a pig. Humph. There are so many geniuses on this bloody path. There will be someone who can deal with her. When the time comes, she might become someone's exclusive property. After Jiang Chen and Luo Shui left, the place became lively again. They were all discussing the relationship between Jiang Chen and Luo Shui, and were also guessing whether the two of them could walk to the end of the bloody path together. Jiang Chen was completely unaware of this. He looked behind him and said, Can you let go now? There's no one around. Don't use me as a shield. You usually like to sneak glances at me. Now that I'm holding your hand, are you unhappy? Luo Shui said with raised eyebrows. Jiang Chen's face turned red before he said seriously. That's because of my admiring eyes. How can you say that I'm sneaking glances? If not for you taking care of Luo Yang during the day, I would have slapped you to death. Luo Shui said solemnly. Divine King Tianqin is not a good person either. Jiang Chen was speechless. He rolled his eyes and thought to himself. All right, you're right. Who asked you to be so powerful? Half an incense stick later, the two walked out of the ancient city and entered an official road. This official road led straight to where the heavenly palace was located. And on both sides of the official road, there was chaos. It was filled with restrictions and mystic arts, making it impossible to set foot in. If one wanted to enter the heavenly palace, they could only advance along this official road. After going through 18 bends and 9 tribulations, they could set foot in the heavenly palace. Now, the batch of geniuses walking at the forefront had basically entered the heavenly palace. There were even some who had stepped into the 4th and 5th small worlds. Now, Jiangchen had to make the best use of his time and catch up to their footsteps. Chapter 483. At this moment, in front of the official road, Jiangchen and Luo Shui were standing side by side. The man was handsome and the woman was beautiful. As the saying goes, a talented man and a beautiful woman. However, in reality, Jiangchen's back was covered in cold sweat, and even his hands were trembling. It was all because this woman, Luo Shui, was too ruthless. "Don't be afraid, I won't eat you," Luo Shui said. "When have I ever been afraid of anyone?" Jiangchen raised his eyebrows, looking very unyielding. "Oh? Is that so?" Luo Shui asked with a smile that was not a smile. When these words came out, Jiangchen's face immediately collapsed. "Let's go. While I'm still here, I'll take you through a few more tribulations," Luo Shui said. Following which, Luo Shui held Jiangchen's hand and the two of them rushed forward like wild geese. The official road was very wide and long. Luo Shui brought Jiangchen and rushed for 1,000 miles before arriving at the first bend of the official road. 18 bends, 9 tribulations," Luo Shui said. "There's still 2 hours before dawn. I should be able to cross 9 bends with you." 9 bends in 2 hours? Are you kidding me? Jiangchen said snappily. 1 bend is a trial, 1 bend is a heavenly tribulation. You can cross 9 bends in 2 hours? Luo Shui was very calm. After gently nodding, she raised her head to look at the sky. In the sky, the heavenly tribulation of the first bend had already appeared. At this moment, Jiangchen focused his eyes and the power in his body surged. He was ready! However, in the next moment, Luo Shui raised her hand and struck out with her palm. A vast and mighty power of the heavens erupted. Under the palm print, the 2 tribulation clouds collapsed at the same time. Not even a wisp of cloud was left. This. Jiangchen was dumbfounded. What the hell was this? Jiangchen had always thought that his heavenly tribulation was already very violent. However, he did not expect that there was someone even more violent than him. With a single palm, the 2 heavenly tribulations were annihilated. This didn't make sense. Luoyang is the emissary of earth, and I am the emissary of heaven. Luo Shui seemed to have noticed the confusion in Jiangchen's heart. He could not help but explain. Heaven's emissary. How long has it been since this job appeared? Have you almost forgotten about it? Messenger of the heavens! Jiangchen stared at Luo Shui as if he was looking at a monster. The messengers of the great earth were known to be invincible as long as they stood on the ground. This kind of profession was extremely rare since ancient times. Now, it was almost extinct. Previously, when he found out that Luoyang was the earth emissary, Jiangchen was very shocked. However, he did not expect Luo Shui to be even more outstanding. The emissary of the firmament, also known as the overlord of the sky. Jiangchen felt a little guilty and said, You are invincible just by standing in the firmament? That's just talk. However, that's pretty much it, Luo Shui said. That's all there is to it. Jiangchen was stunned. Was being invincible just like that? The world has changed. Following that, Luo Shui continued to lead Jiangchen forward. When they arrived at the second bend, Luo Shui's face turned cold. He stared at Jiangchen and said, Hurry up! Oh! Jiangchen was very obedient. After all, Luo Shui was too strong. As for the second bend, it was not a heavenly tribulation, but a trial. This kind of trial was actually very simple. It was nothing more than a trial to see if a person's physical body, mental strength, soul, and cultivation foundation were solid. And these things, to Jiang Chen, were simply child's play. In just a dozen breaths of time, Jiang Chen passed the trial. He thought that this speed was already very fast, but he found that Luo Shui was already waiting at the corner of the bend with an impatient look on her face. She said coldly, "So slow?" Jiang Chen did not know what to say. He opened his mouth, but could only say the word "I." There was nothing he could do. He was indeed inferior to Luo Shui. This woman must be cheating. One had to know that in front of the three devils Jiang Chen, Lu Songon, and Chen Lu Dao, he was very natural and did not feel any pressure. But now, in front of Luo Shui, he felt the pressure of a mountain. He was almost out of breath. Following that, under Luo Shui's lead, the two of them rushed forward. Everything about the heavenly tribulation was handed over to Luo Shui. This woman had basically annihilated the tribulation cloud with a single palm strike before it had even formed. The only thing that delayed time was their own trial. And every time, no matter how fast Jiang Chen passed the trial, Luo Shui would always be waiting for him impatiently at the bend. This caused Jiang Chen's self-esteem to suffer a great blow. If I didn't sever my own blade and cultivate the incomplete heavenly manual, my strength wouldn't be so weak. Jiang Chen felt wrong, but when he thought of the power of the incomplete heavenly manual, he felt much better. It was just a short period of forbearance. Could Jiang Chen not endure it? 2 hours later, Luo Shui and Jiang Chen walked through 9 bends, past 9 heavenly tribulations, and past 9 trials. I'm leaving. See you tonight. At this moment, dawn had already broken in the sky. After Luo Shui coldly said this, her body was controlled by Luo Yang. Luo Yang had just woken up and found himself in a completely unfamiliar place. Only Jiang Chen beside him was familiar. You were sleepwalking. Jiang Chen lied through his teeth. He was too lazy to make up a story to deceive Luo Yang. Jiang Chen also believed that Luo Yang was most likely used to this kind of thing. Then let's continue. After Luo Yang understood some things, he knew that he had arrived on the official road. Then, he patted Jiang Chen's shoulder and said gratefully, "Thank you for taking care of me when I was sleepwalking. Now it's my turn to take care of you." Jiang Chen's old face turned slightly red. He really wanted to tell Luo Yang that before you, it was a person called Luo Shui who took care of me. Although Luo Shui's temper and personality were really. Let's go! At this moment, without waiting for Jiang Chen to react, Luo Yang grabbed Jiang Chen's shoulder and rushed forward. As the messenger of the earth, Luo Yang's feet stepped on the ground. It was as if an endless amount of energy surged out from the ground and entered his body. She walked on the official road like a walking mountain. Every step she took caused dust to fly into the air. Half of the official road was trembling from her footsteps. Keep a low profile, Jiang Chen muttered. He thought to himself, you're not Luo Shui. Without Luo Shui's strength, why do you have to be so high profile? However, in the next moment, when the two of them arrived at the 10th bend, 2 tribulation clouds appeared in the sky. Jiang Chen was completely speechless. Luo Yang stomped on the ground and a thick color burst out, like thousands of stone pillars rushing up. In 3 breaths of time, the 2 tribulation clouds were scattered. Pretend I didn't say anything. Please continue. Jiang Chen was speechless. He allowed Luo Yang to grab his shoulder and be dragged forward like a walking corpse. Chapter 484. Only when they encountered a trial would the two of them separate for a while and pass their own trials. Luo Yang's cultivation was below Luo Shui's. Although the two of them were the same person, there was still a gap in their strength. At that moment, Jiang Chen thought that since he had lost face in front of Luo Shui, he should be able to regain some face in front of Luo Yang, right? With that thought, Jiang Chen gave it his all and passed the trial in 10 breaths of time. However, when he walked out of the trial, he saw Luo Yang looking at him in astonishment. Is the reincarnation of Tian Chen Divine King so weak? You actually need 10 breaths of time for such a small trial? Luo Yang asked in astonishment. Air. Jiang Chun almost collapsed. Was 10 breaths of time very long? One had to know that an ordinary person would need at least an hour. Forget it, I don't want to compare myself with a monster like you. Jiang Chun felt more and more aggrieved. He even wanted to give up cultivating the incomplete heavenly manual. Ever since he started cultivating the incomplete heavenly manual, his combat strength had decreased greatly. Now, even his trials were despised by others. It was too miserable. This life is really bleak. Jiang Chun sighed in his heart, but he was happy to relax. In the end, under Luo Yang's strong leadership, the two of them used 3 hours to arrive in front of the Heavenly Palace. The Heavenly Palace was not very big and stood on top of a mountain peak. The surroundings were shrouded in clouds, and the heaven and earth yuan qi turned into divine light that floated in the air. At that moment, in front of the main entrance of the Heavenly Palace, there was a young man holding a magic staff standing there. Newcomer, you want to enter the Heavenly Palace? The young man said mockingly. He stretched out his hand and said, Come, pay the entrance fee first. Jiang Chun had been sullen the entire way. Now that he saw someone collecting entrance fees at the entrance of the Heavenly Palace, Jiang Chun immediately became excited. It was time to show his strength. However, before Jiang Chun could make a move, Luo Yang's slender hand pushed out and a brown ripple spread out. It's useless. The entrance of the Heavenly Palace is filled with Maya rays. If I don't agree, no one can enter. The young man was very confident and did not even try to resist. It was because he believed that the formation in front of him was enough to block Luo Yang's palm strike. Boom! Boom! However, when 8 explosions rang out and the 8 formations before the young man collapsed, he began to panic. With the strength of a single palm, he had forcefully broken through 8 formations. Just based on this strength alone, it was not something that this young man could contend against. However, he did not leave. Instead, he shouted into the Heavenly Palace. Someone is coming! Whoosh! Whoosh! As he spoke, the 2 youths arrived at the gate of the Heavenly Palace. 2 middle-level Divine Realm martial artists! Jiang Chun narrowed his eyes, but when he saw Luo Yang, Jiang Chun felt much more relaxed. With Luo Yang, a middle deity realm emissary of the earth, dealing with ordinary cultivators was simply a piece of cake. And the truth was just as Jiang Chun thought. Luo Yang did not say another word as he pushed his palm out again. This time, the earth trembled as the energy of the earth erupted. Numerous earth spikes rose from the ground and transformed into an enormous cage that imprisoned the 3 of them. The second most beautiful person in the world is not only beautiful, but also very powerful. At that moment, on the city wall of the Heavenly Palace, a young man holding a purple halberd suddenly spoke. When he looked at Luo Yang, a trace of greed flashed across his eyes. After all, no one could remain calm in the face of a natural beauty like Luo Yang. Even Jiang Chun would steal a glance at her from time to time. No matter how beautiful or powerful she is, she belongs to the Azure Sea Sect's holy sun. What does it have to do with you? On the other side of the city wall, a young man holding a long spear mocked. What? You want to snatch her from Holy Sun Azure Sea? Holy Sun Azure Sea? Hey, if there's a chance, I'd like to compete with him, the young man holding the halberd said, his eyes full of confidence. At that moment, Luo Yang ignored them. Instead, he nodded at Jiang Chun and said, Let's go in. Are you looking down on the 3 of us? Do you think you can go in just because you want to? Heh! How arrogant! You've gone too far! After a few angry roars, the cage shattered. Following that, the 3 young men used all their means. One of them used an array formation, and chains burst forth like swimming dragons, rushing toward Jiang Chun and Luo Yang. Another drew his bow and shot an arrow, which tore through the air like a thunderbolt, sweeping up 1,000 feet of sharp light. Another person held a long saber and slashed down across the air, the saber light vast and mighty for more than 1,000 miles. I don't want to play with you, Luo Yang said softly, raised his hand, and gently slapped down. The power of the earth erupted, rolling in the air like the Yellow River. Boom! Boom! Following a few explosions, the trio's attacks were all neutralized. At the same time, the power of the earth surged out like the Yellow River, drowning the trio. It was only when Jiangchen and Luo Yang reached the gates of the heavenly palace that the trio rushed out of the power of the earth. However, they were already heavily injured. Why don't you learn the good and learn the bad? Why are you charging the entrance fee? Jiangchen teased. Why don't you take a look at whose entrance fee you're charging? Who are you? One of them was stunned. He stared at Jiangchen and said, Does it have anything to do with you? This? Jiangchen heard this and was immediately confused. In this world, not to mention the younger generation, there were probably not many people in the older generation who did not know him, right? Following behind Luo Yang, it's obvious that you're living off a woman. One of them said, but there was a hint of jealousy in his words. Kid, you're dead meat. She's Saint Sun Tsingming's fiancée. You're so close to her, Saint Sun Tsingming won't let you off. Another person said. Saint Sun Tsingming? Heh, if he's here, I'd like to compete with him. Jiangchen raised his eyebrows. He couldn't beat Luo Shui or Luo Yang, but could he not beat Saint Sun Tsingming? However, as soon as Jiangchen finished speaking, he saw a youngster flying over from the heavenly palace. He was riding a black skeleton horse and holding a spear in his hand. Before he arrived, his voice was already heard. I'm Saint Sun Tsingming's #1 general, Jilan. May I ask who you are? Why is Jilan still in the heavenly palace? This guy didn't leave with Saint Sun Tsingming? The two youths standing on the city walls were puzzled. When they looked at Jilan, a hint of fear flashed in their eyes. Jiangchen was even more speechless. He looked at Jilan, whose cultivation had reached the upper level of the immortal realm, and felt a little guilty. What kind of joke was this? If Saint Sun Tsingming's subordinate was already so strong, then Saint Sun Tsingming himself, could it be that he had already broken through to the heaven realm? Do you want to change your soul? Jiangchen saw that the situation was not right and had an idea. He said to Luo Yang, He's Saint Sun Tsingming's #1 general, so he must have many rare treasures on him. If we can subdue him, I understand. Luo Yang's eyes flashed when she heard that, and a terrifying power of the earth appeared under her feet. Like a dragon of the earth, it circled around Luo Yang. Vaguely, a divine light descended from the sky and poured into her head. Luo Yang? What's your relationship with him? Do you know that you're engaged to our saint? Jilan said in a low voice. Chapter 485. Any man would be concerned about the marriage of the second most beautiful woman in the world. Moreover, the person Luo Yang was engaged to was the Holy Son of the Azure Sea sect. The Holy Son of the Azure Sea sect was extraordinarily handsome and talented. His strength was unrivaled among his peers. As for Luo Yang, she was the second most beautiful woman in the world. Their marriage should have been a much-told story. But now Luo Yang was walking with Jiangchen. Moreover, their relationship seemed to be extraordinary. Don't worry. With me around, they can't hurt you. Luo Yang ignored the Azure Sea sect. Instead, she turned around and patted Jiangchen on the shoulder to comfort him. Jiangchen blushed slightly. Although he knew that this was Luo Yang, his restless heart could not help but twitch. What a disaster! Jiangchen shouted in his heart. Luo Yang! I'm asking you on behalf of Holy Sun Azure Sea! Jilan shouted angrily as a trace of anger appeared in her eyes. What does that have to do with you? Luo Yang raised his eyebrows. His eyes flashed coldly as the energy of the earth rose around him. Forget it. Today, I'll suppress you and bring you to the Holy Sun to explain, Jilan said in a low voice. Then, her gaze landed on Jiangchen as killing intent appeared in her eyes. As for you, this sky palace will be your burial ground. Luo Yang, if I really die, you'll have to ask someone else to change your soul, Jiangchen muttered. Sigh. Luo Yang's eyes flashed fiercely when she heard that. He stared at Ran Lan and said coldly, If you dare lay a finger on him, I'll slaughter your entire clan. What? What's the relationship between these two? I feel like Holy Sun Azure Sea is being cuckolded. There were already many people around them who were watching the show. After Liu Yang said that, the surroundings became noisy. Could it be that the Holy Son of the Azure Sea sect was really being cuckolded? He's mine! Whoever dares to touch him will be my enemy! At this moment, Liu Yang's voice resounded like a bell. Oh my God! This is serious! She's really cuckolded! Holy Sun Deep Blue Sea was about to explode from anger. Will they come back from the small world ahead to kill this adulterous couple? Cries of surprise and discussion filled the air. Holy Sun Tsengyan's followers also appeared and stood behind Jilan. Leave Luoyang to me. You guys go and kill Jiang Chen, Ranlan said coldly. Her icy gaze swept across the surroundings as she angrily shouted. All of you, shut up! Ming Lan, your holy son has been cuckolded, and you won't let anyone talk about it. Someone chuckled and said, This is big news. The Azure Sea sect is probably going to become a laughing stock. Ha! Ji Lan's expression became more and more unsightly. He did not say anything else. With a wave of his hand, over 100 followers behind him charged out. The cultivation of these followers was very strong. All of them had reached the upper level of the Great Sage Realm. Some of them were only a step away from the Divine Realm. However, in Jiang Chen's eyes, these people were like ants. It's fine as long as there are no Divine Realm cultivators, Jiang Chen said softly. He poked Luoyang's shoulder and said, I'll leave the person riding the skeleton horse to you. Be careful, Luoyang said. Then, she swept up a monstrous force of the earth and charged toward Ji Lan with the momentum of wind and thunder. They're fighting! Let's see the strength of the second most beautiful woman in the world today! For a moment, everyone's eyes were locked on Luoyang and Ji Lan. They ignored Jiang Chen. However, after a dozen breaths, the group of people's eyes fell on Jiang Chen. This was because Jiang Chen was standing alone in his original place. He was pinching hand signs. Many ancient portals fell from the sky. Many portals also rose from the ground. 3,000 floating life doors! 3,000 floating life doors! Someone exclaimed. This martial technique was the ultimate technique of the Luofu sect. This martial technique had already been lost in the current world. Could it be that Jiang Chen is the successor of the Luofu sect? Someone guessed. However, not long after, Jiang Chen executed the heavenly dance of light and darkness. Black and white light lingered. The two swords in his hands hummed. As he swept across, it was as if the black and white devils were moving side by side. Wherever he passed, blood sprayed out, and heads rolled down one after another. This, if I'm not wrong, it seems to be the heavenly dance of light and darkness. Someone recognized this move and exclaimed, This is the secret technique of the Black and White Sword sect. The Black and White Sword sect was destroyed long ago. Could he be the successor of the Black and White Sword sect? Someone asked in surprise. However, Jiang Chen soon executed another martial technique. In just half an incense stick's time, Jiang Chen executed more than 30 lost martial techniques in succession, shocking everyone. At the same time, more than half of the 100 followers had been killed by Jiang Chen. The remaining people's eyes were filled with fear and shock. They could not believe that a Sage Realm cultivator had such powerful combat power. This guy's combat power is comparable to a cultivator in the lower position of the immortal state, right? Someone exclaimed. He had to admit that Jiang Chen's combat power was strong. My combat power is slowly recovering. Jiang Chen was also surprised. However, he was overjoyed. Ever since he had cultivated the incomplete heavenly skill and severed himself, Jiang Chen's combat power had weakened. Now that he had cultivated the incomplete heavenly skill for some time, his combat power was slowly recovering. At this rate, Jiang Chen's combat power would be restored to its original state in less than a month. He might even be stronger than before. Formation, secret skill, octagonal prison. At that moment, the sun and moon shone in Jiang Chen's eyes. The power of heaven and earth flowed around him. He formed a seal with his hands and runes shone around him like stars. Then, Jiangchen pressed down with his palm. An octagonal prison fell and suppressed the remaining people. Luoyang, you're not done yet? Jiangchen looked at Luoyang. Although Luoyang was strong, he was still a far cry from Luo Shui. With Luo Shui's strength, Jilan might not even be able to block one of his attacks. He's a nether knight, Luoyang said angrily. Why don't you do it? Jiangchen knew that Jilan was a rare nether knight. After all, who would ride a skeleton horse for no reason? The skeleton horse was a creature that lived in the nether hell. Only necromancers and nether knights could summon it. Great light skill, holy light! At that moment, Jiangchen shouted. A ray of holy light shot out from his palm and landed on Jilan's body. Chi! Instantly black fog emerged from Jilan's body. It was as if his body had been burnt. At the same time, the skeleton horse under him screamed in pain. Then, it turned into a cloud of black fog and disappeared. Chapter 486. How do you know the Church of Light's Great Light Technique? Jilan asked in a deep voice. As a nether knight, he was naturally afraid of light. As for the Great Light Technique, it was a natural restraint for nether knights and necromancers. Why can't I? Jiangchen said mockingly. Take care of yourself. Without the skeleton horse, I'm afraid you're going to suffer. Bang! As soon as Jiangchen finished speaking, he saw Luoyang forcing himself in front of Jilan. Then, he clenched his slender hand into a fist and punched him in the face. With a muffled sound, Jilan was beaten to the ground. Then, he was imprisoned by the power of the earth and suppressed. Give it to me! At this moment, Luoyang took Jilan's spatial ring without hesitation and searched inside. However, although there were many treasures in Jilan's spatial ring, there was nothing that Luoyang wanted. In a fit of anger, Luoyang crushed the spatial ring and crushed everything inside into powder. Hiss! Did you hear that? It's like the heartbreak of a broken heart. Someone gloated, and his expression was extremely exaggerated. I heard it. It sounds like Jilan's heart is broken. Someone at the side mocked. So many heavenly treasures are gone. His heart must be bleeding. Luoyang! Jilan roared. His eyes were bloodshot, and his hair danced wildly. It was obvious that he was furious. However, Luoyang was very calm. A trace of disdain even flashed in his eyes as he said softly, You're too poor. The people around were speechless. You crushed all his treasures and still despised him for being poor? How could a woman like you afford to raise him? Who spoiled him? Forget it, let's enter the heavenly palace. There might be something inside, Jiangchen said. He walked to Luoyang's side and patted his shoulder in front of everyone. If he couldn't beat Luo Shui, he could beat Luoyang. He had to earn back the losses he suffered from Luo Shui from Luoyang. This relationship is definitely not ordinary. As far as I know, Luoyang definitely won't let any man touch his body. Not even a strand of hair. Intolerable. What can't you tolerate? Think about Holy Sun Deep Blue. That guy has a grassland above his head. It's so green that it's crazy. There was a constant clamor in the surroundings. Some were jealous, while others were mocking Saint Sun Deep Blue. Jiangchen ignored these voices and stepped into the heavenly palace with Luoyang. The heavenly palace was huge, like a small world. There was everything inside. There were mountains and rivers, birds and insects, beasts and birds. There was even a scripture pavilion, a pill refinement room, and a talisman room. It was like an academy. In addition, there was a medicinal field near the alchemy room, where some rare treasures were planted. As long as one's overall strength was strong enough to withstand the formation in the herbal field, one would be able to harvest a few rare and precious herbs from the herbal field. As soon as Luoyang arrived, he went straight to the medicinal field. Jiangchen, on the other hand, was not interested in these things. After walking around for a while, he headed towards the scripture pavilion. It was not Jiang Chen's first time coming to the bloody path, but he was not very familiar with it. At the very least, Jiang Chen did not know why someone would build the bloody path back then. Moreover, what was the meaning of building the bloody path? Could it be that it was just to nurture the younger generation? However, one had to know that the 18 families that built the bloody path back then had always lived at the end of the bloody path ever since it was built, never leaving. Then, the people who built the bloody path back then did not use it themselves, but let others use it instead. Was this reasonable? There was once a rumor that the bloody path was not used for training, but for killing. However, this rumor was quickly dispelled. Because anyone who walked out of the bloody path alive would have their strength skyrocket, becoming a powerhouse of their generation. Although many people died in the bloody path, in a world where the strong preyed on the weak, it was normal for people to die. Moreover, no one forced anyone to enter the bloody path. After that, there was another rumor that it was a conspiracy of the 18 families in the bloody path. As for what kind of conspiracy it was, no one could say. However, there was once someone who found some clues in the bloody path. But before they could announce it to the public in time, they were secretly killed to silence their mouths. Now, Jiang Chen entered the bloody path once more. He indeed wanted to see what was going on with this bloody path. However, when Jiang Chen just arrived at the scripture storage pavilion, he suddenly felt that the surrounding environment had a change. Waves of mist rose up. Following that were one obscure aura after another. Under this aura, Jiang Chen's emotions gradually calmed down, and even had a feeling of drowsiness. Illusory realm? Jiang Chen raised his brows and said, "Who are you? Did you set up an illusory realm here specially to welcome me, this Jiang? Well deserving of being Divine King Tian Chen's reincarnation," seeing through it with one glance. In the illusory realm, a voice that could not be distinguished between male and female sounded out. "It's just that you can tell that this is an illusory realm. Can you walk out? What do you think?" Jiang Chen chuckled and gently stepped on the ground with his left foot. Immediately, ripples spread out. The next moment, the scene in front of him shattered like a mirror. A few breaths later, the scripture storage pavilion's door appeared in front of Jiang Chen once more. The illusory realm had already collapsed. Not learning good things at such a young age, learning from others to create illusory realms? Jiang Chen raised his head and looked above the scripture storage pavilion's door. There, a girl in red was holding her chin and sizing up Jiang Chen. Her eyes shone with curiosity. This girl was not old and should be about the same age as Jiang Yueli. However, from the looks of it, she should be much more mature than Jiang Yueli. "Not fun at all." The girl in red pouted and said, "Can't you play with me for a while?" "Little girl, find someone else to play with," Jiang Chen said with a smile, feeling that this girl was rather cute. However, just as he said that, Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed and his figure retreated rapidly. Boom! The next moment, at the place where he was previously, a purple lightning bolt exploded, causing the space to explode. Black void storms wantonly spread out. "So boring." The girl in red curled her lips and said, "You found me again. Who are you?" At this moment, Jiang Chen no longer thought that this girl in red was cute. On the contrary, Jiang Chen's heart turned cold. "Me? Others call me Red Bean." The girl in red smiled. Her face was pure and cute, and even her eyes were so clear. However, Jiang Chen's heart tensed up. After entering the bloody path for so long, Jiang Chen had heard of many famous geniuses. Among them, there was a girl called Red Bean. It was said that this person was good at illusions and spells. She often used illusions to confuse her opponents, and then used spells to kill them. Her illusions were impossible to guard against. Sometimes, the enemy would mistakenly think that they had broken the illusion, but they did not know that they were still in the illusion. "Illusionist Red Bean?" Jiang Chen raised his brows and said coldly, "Do you really just want to play with me?" Chapter 487. Not really. Red Bean shook her head and said helplessly, "Someone gave me something good in exchange for your life." I liked it a lot, so I agreed. So he's an enemy? Jiang Chen asked. Should be. Red Bean giggled. Deep in her clear eyes, there was a hint of killing intent that was hard to detect. Red Bean looked innocent, but in reality, she was an assassin. The Sacred Emperor Dynasty? Jiang Chen said in a low voice. His eyes were filled with killing intent. The Saint Emperor Dynasty was a very mysterious organization. It was said that it was founded by a top assassin. This organization did not care about the ways of the world, good or evil. As long as the price was right, they would do anything for money. In this organization, there were a few famous young assassins, and one of them was Red Bean. Although she was young, her hands were stained with the lives of at least 1,000 people. Moreover, those who died at her hands were not weak. They were either the holy sons of some sect or the young masters of some family. Now, Red Bean's target was Jiang Chen. You know about the Saint Emperor Dynasty? Red Bean blinked and asked with a smile. Do you want to join the Saint Emperor Dynasty? Ha, an organization that everyone despises. Jiang Chen said coldly. Red Bean laughed and said, So what? Everyone has a purpose and value in life. The people of the Saint Emperor Dynasty were born to kill. For profit, a group of people who will do anything, Jiang Chen said. Little brother, what you said seems to make a lot of sense, Red Bean said with a smile. However, Jiang Chen's heart was getting more and more nervous. This was because Red Bean's strongest point was illusions. As for Jiang Chen, he didn't even know whether he was in an illusion or in reality. If this had happened in reality, with such a short distance between him and Red Bean, Jiang Chen would have been able to kill it in an instant as long as he went all out. Red Bean was sure that Red Bean knew this. In that case, how could Red Bean give Jiang Chen the chance? Thinking about it this way, what Jiang Chen was seeing now should still be an illusion. Yin-yang eyes! At this moment, Jiang Chen yelled out softly. In his eyes, the brilliance of the sun and moon appeared. For a moment, the scene in front of Jiang Chen changed. At some point in time, colorful clouds had appeared beside and in front of him. Inside the clouds, there were cold glints that were approaching him. The closest one was only 3 inches away from Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen was shocked. If he had reacted a little slower, this cold beam would have penetrated his corporeal body. Moreover, it was very likely that he would be killed by this cold light. Boom! With a punch, Jiang Chen shattered the cold light. Following that, his hands danced in the air. The power of heaven and earth was like a whirlpool, tearing apart the 5-colored clouds around him, turning them into clouds and smoke. At this moment, Jiang Chen saw that there were a total of 6 people standing in front and behind him. And right in front of him was Red Bean. I didn't expect to break the illusion so quickly. Red Bean frowned and shouted at the other 5 people. You came so late. If you came earlier, he would have died. Master Red Bean now, one of them asked. Judging from their attitude towards Red Bean's status in the Saint Emperor Dynasty was not low. Where is Luo Yang? Red Bean asked. In the herb field. He can't come out for now, someone said. Red Bean's eyes flashed coldly when she heard that. She looked at Jiang Chen ferociously and sneered. Who can help you now? I don't need anyone to help me, Jiang Chen said softly. In the outside world, I might need to seek protection. But in the blood path, you'd better not provoke me. Hey, you're just a saint. What can you do? Red Bean said disdainfully. The 6 of us are enough to kill you. Let's try. Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows. He did not believe it. Among the 6 people, only Red Bean's cultivation base was in the godly realm. The other 5 were in the upper level of the great sage realm. What could these few people do to him? God's seal of the 6 Daos formation. In the next moment, Jiang Chen watched in surprise as the 6 people formed a hexagram with their hands. In a few breaths of time, a formation was formed. In an instant, Jiang Chen could feel the power of the 6 Daos erupting. It was like invisible shackles that imprisoned him. The power of the 6 Daos? Jiang Chen was shocked. He did not expect that the 6 people in front of him could use the power of the 6 Daos. Moreover, they used the long-lost God seal of the 6 Daos formation that even Jiang Qin did not know how to use. If this formation was cultivated to the Mahayana stage, it could even seal a deity. Can you still move now? Red Bean said disdainfully. Killing you is as easy as lifting my hand. Heh! Jiang Qin chuckled. Although he could not move, it did not mean that the others could not. At least, Jiang Chen's Taoist soul could still move. Buzz! With a loud buzz, the Emperor's vine appeared behind Jiang Chen. Then 2 huge vines shot out from the Emperor's vine like 2 arms. However, the 2 vines did not attack. Instead, they stood on the spot and performed a set of fist techniques. This set of fist techniques was very ordinary, but it gave off an obscure and profound feeling. Heh, the Emperor's vine Taoist soul is a good Taoist soul, Red Bean said disdainfully. However, do you think you can break out of the God seal of the 6 Daos formation with this Taoist soul? You talk too much, Jiang Chen said mockingly. If you didn't talk, you would have killed me dozens of times in this short period of time. But now, it's a pity. Jiang Chen's eyes shone brightly. Just as he finished speaking, 6 rays of light shot out from the 2 vines. There was also a terrifying power of the 6 Daos. What is this? What a terrifying power of the 6 Daos! This is the 6 Daos reincarnation fist. At this moment, Red Bean and the others exclaimed. Before they could dodge, they were hit by the fist radiance. In an instant, the 5 of them were crushed by the fist radiance. Only Red Bean managed to dodge, but half of her body was turned into dust. Even her divine soul dimmed. She was almost killed. I can't move, but it doesn't mean that my Taoist soul can't move. Jiang Qin chuckled. Under the 6 Daos reincarnation fist, the God seal of the 6 Daos formation collapsed. At this moment, Jiang Qin walked to Red Bean and pinched her innocent face. He said coldly, Now, what should we do? You're the Tian Qin Divine King. You shouldn't be interested in the life of a nobody like me, right? Red Bean said. Then, she put on a pitiful look and said, Little brother Tian Qin, let me go. I won't dare to do it again. Okay, I'll let you go. Jiang Qin smiled. He let go of Red Bean's face and turned to enter the scripture depository. This time, Red Bean was dumbfounded. She couldn't believe that Jiang Qin would let her go just like that. Could it be that Jiang Qin was really stupid? Or could it be that he was protective of her? However, no matter what, Red Bean heaved a sigh of relief. After looking at Jiang Qin's back, she hurriedly left. Chapter 488. How could one catch a big fish without casting a long line? Jiang Qin didn't let Red Bean go because he was soft-hearted or protective of her. He just wanted to know who had issued a mission in the Sacred Emperor dynasty. Jiang Qin knew that with the Martial Pavilion's strength, there was no need for the Saint Emperor dynasty to help them. Furthermore, there was a deep grudge between the Martial Pavilion and the Saint Emperor dynasty. A holy son of the Martial Pavilion had died at the hands of the Saint Emperor dynasty. You can only stay in the Scripture Pavilion for 1 day. As soon as Jiang Qin entered the Scripture Pavilion, he heard an ancient voice. Jiang Qin looked over and saw an old man in a gray robe in a corner of the first floor of the depository of Buddhist scriptures. Jiang Qin observed him with his yin-yang eyes, sun and moon eyes, and found that he was a Deva's blight powerhouse. Who are you, senior? Jiang Qin asked. Lin Suori of the Lin clan, one of the 18 clans. The old man waved his hand and said, You can find everything here. Don't waste time. Thank you, senior. Jiang Qin nodded. The people of the 18 clans had lived on the Blood Path since it was built. It could be said that in every small world on the Bloody Path, there were people from their side. They were the guardians of the Blood Path, guarding every corner to prevent anyone from destroying it. You are not allowed to enter the 3rd floor, Lin Suori said. His tone was filled with warning. Jiang Qin nodded. Naturally, he would not go against Lin Suori, a Deva's blight powerhouse. Then, Jiang Chen began to flip through the ancient books. After half an incense stick of time, Jiang Chen had flipped through all the ancient books on the first and second floors. Other than a few lost cultivation methods and martial skills, there was nothing else. Jiang Chen was a little frustrated. He thought to himself, are these the only things in the depository of Buddhist scriptures? Jiang Chen suddenly raised his head and looked towards the door leading to the third floor. There was a thick layer of dust on the door. Obviously, no one had been there for a long time. So why was the third floor of the scripture pavilion not open to anyone? Could it be that there was some kind of secret hidden inside? Puzzled, Jiang Chen couldn't help but walk up to the gate. Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed when he saw an ancient rune on the door. This rune was like a circle, but there was a six-pointed star pattern on the outside. Beside the rune, there was a line of small ancient characters. Ordinary people would not be able to recognize these ancient characters. After all, they were characters from the ancient times. However, Jiang Chen was very knowledgeable. He was very familiar with these ancient characters. Jiang Chen recognized these ancient characters at first glance. 18 families are forbidden to enter, Jiang Chen thought to himself. He wondered if the depository of Buddhist scriptures on the third floor was targeting the 18 families in the bloody path. In that case, outsiders like them should be able to enter this place. But why did Lin Suori not allow outsiders to enter the sutra depository on the third floor? Is there a secret hidden inside? Jiang Chen thought, and closed his eyes. A strand of divine thought flew out from his soul and entered the scripture pavilion through the gap in the door. The scripture pavilion on the third floor was not very big, and it was very spacious. There was only a table with an ancient book on it. Other than that, there was nothing else. Jiang Chen was very curious. Was there only one ancient book in the entire scripture pavilion? What was recorded in this ancient book? Jiang Chen opened the ancient book with his divine thought. When the ancient characters on the first page appeared in front of him, Jiang Chen's heart palpitated. Jiang Chen read carefully. When he finished reading the ancient characters on the first page, he was shocked. The first page of the ancient book stated that the bloody path was not for people to train, but a forbidden place. A group of vicious sinners were imprisoned there. They were known as the sinners of the entire godless continent. At the same time, there was a group of guardians in the bloody path. They had been guarding the sinners for generations. Could it be that the people of the 18 families have been staying in the bloody path to guard the sinners? Jiang Chen thought and continued reading. At the end, Jiang Chen found that the last page of the ancient book was torn. However, the last page was the most important one. The bloody path is a forbidden place. There are sinners and people guarding the sinners. Jiang Chen frowned and felt that something was not right. Who were the sinners of the entire godless continent? Or rather, who were they? And were the people who were guarding these sinners really the 18 families? If not, what kind of avatars did the people of the 18 families use to stay in the bloody path? Moreover, where were the sinners who were sealed in the bloody path? And why did this forbidden land become a training ground for future generations of geniuses? What exactly was going on? Jiang Chen thought for a long time but could not figure it out. His divine will returned to his soul. Then, Jiang Chen pretended to ignore it and left the scripture pavilion. However, as he left the scripture pavilion, Jiang Chen looked at Lin Suori, whose back was facing him. He felt that there was something strange about Lin Suori. However, Jiang Chen could not pinpoint exactly what was strange about him. After a few breaths, Jiang Chen walked out of the scripture pavilion. His eyes narrowed as he saw a formation taking shape outside the scripture pavilion. Behind the formation, Red Bean and a young man stood there, their eyes flashing with killing intent. I was kind enough to let you go. Why did you come back? Jiang Chen said mockingly. Do you think I'm soft-hearted? Do you want to throw away your life again? You are Jiang Chen? Red Bean did not speak. The young man standing beside her raised his eyebrows and said, Someone is looking for the Saint Emperor dynasty to buy your life. Who is looking for the Saint Emperor dynasty? Jiang Chen asked. You are about to die. Why do you need to know so much? The young man pointed in front of Jiang Chen and said, "You better stay in the scripture pavilion for the rest of your life. Otherwise, the formation in front of you is enough to kill you several times over." "A tactical formation?" Jiang Chen smiled. He said, "How many times can such a tactical formation kill me? Your joke is not funny at all. Try it if you don't believe me." The young man said mockingly, "Don't think that just because you are the reincarnation of Tianqin deity king, you are invincible in this era. You should know that this era is going to be glorious. There are many people stronger than you." Jiang Chen nodded. He had to admit that this era was different. In this era, there were many sage bodies and many high-level Dao souls. There were even more geniuses who could challenge him. If this trend continued, this era was destined to be glorious. But so what? In Jiang Chen's eyes, enemies, demons, ghosts, and anyone who dared to stand in his way would be crushed. "Do you know how childish your words are?" Jiang Chen said softly. He pressed his palm down and the power of all transformations erupted. Ripples spread out. Wherever the art of all transformations passed, the formation in front of him dissipated and turned into wisps of divine light. In just 10 breaths of time, the formation in front of him had disappeared. Chapter 489. "You think you can trap me with this formation?" Jiang Chen said disdainfully. He took a step forward and used spatial bending to appear in front of Red Bean and the young man. However, the strange thing was that Red Bean and the young man were not afraid at all. In fact, when Jiang Chen appeared in front of them, there was a hint of mockery in their eyes. "Did I fall into a trap?" Jiang Chen was shocked and hurriedly moved to the side. However, before he could move half a step, a bolt of lightning appeared out of nowhere and struck Jiang Chen with lightning speed. Boom! At this moment, Jiang Chen's body started to tremble. His holy soul had almost been destroyed by this thunderbolt. "Eh? He's not dead! How is that possible?" Red Bean and the young man exclaimed. After all, that bolt of lightning was condensed from the power of the heavens, the god-slaying lightning. Even a godly state cultivator would be reduced to ashes by this god-slaying lightning. But now, Jiang Chen, a sage state cultivator, had actually withstood the god-slaying lightning. This wasn't right. God-slaying lightning! Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed, his heart still palpitating with fear. If not for his strong physical body, which had blocked most of the god-slaying lightning's power, his soul would have been destroyed on the spot. "You guys are really something," Jiang Chen said in a low voice. He charged forward, his hands reaching out like dragon claws and grabbing the top of their heads. "Speak! Who gave you the mission?" Jiang Chen said coldly, his eyes filled with killing intent. "Don't you know the rules of the Saint Emperor dynasty?" The young man said contemptuously. "From the day we joined the Saint Emperor dynasty, we learned one thing. Even if we die, we can't reveal the identity of our employer." "Then you can die," Jiang Chen said softly. His 5 fingers closed and crushed the young man's head. Instantly, red and white matter splattered everywhere, splattering Red Bean's face. Red Bean's face was pale, and her eyes were filled with fear. She was scared. How many people could remain fearless in the face of death? Maybe there was, but not everyone could do it. Not even an assassin from the Saint Emperor dynasty. "I've already spared you once," Jiang Chen said softly. His eyes narrowed as he stared at Red Bean. "This is your last chance." "I don't know." Red Bean's face was covered in cold sweat. Trembling, she said, "I'm only responsible for killing you. As for who gave me the task, I don't know." "Oh? Who knows?" Jiang Chen asked. "Infernal. He knows," Hong Do said. "Infernal is a holy son of the Saint Emperor dynasty. The mission this time was arranged by him. I've told you everything. Let me go. Let me go one more time." Red Bean was trembling all over. In the face of death, she was completely scared. However, it was a pity that Jiang Chen wouldn't let her go this time. Bang! The next moment, Jiangchen closed his hand and crushed the top of Red Bean's head. Then, he waved his hand and said softly, "Infernal? A holy son of the Saint Emperor dynasty? I'll have to meet you sooner or later. Jiangchen, I've found it!" At that moment, Luo Yang's voice came from afar. Then she came up to Jiangchen excitedly. Holding dozens of rare treasures in her hands, she said excitedly, "I've found all the rare treasures needed to refine elixirs." At that moment, Jiangchen was a little confused and did not know what to do. He did not expect that there would be so many natural treasures in the medicine field in the Heavenly Palace. Now that he had found all the natural treasures, was it time to refine the pills that could change the soul? But Luo Yang did not have two souls. "I still need some primers." Jiangchen pretended to be deep in thought. He rubbed his chin and said, "I need the blood essence of a true phoenix, the whiskers of a true dragon, and a drop of blood from the heart of a vermilion bird." "You need so many things?" Luo Yang asked. "Nonsense, do you think it's so easy to refine pills that can change the soul?" Jiangchen said angrily, but he was panicking. If Luo Yang found out that he was lying to her, then with Luo Yang's character and strength, Jiangchen would probably be suppressed on the spot. Fortunately, Luo Yang trusted Jiangchen. After all, in her eyes, gods were omnipotent, and gods would not lie to mortals. Sigh. Right. Suddenly, Luo Yang looked at Jiangchen excitedly and said, "I remember that you have a dragon and a phoenix by your side. I think there's also a vermilion bird." As soon as she said that, Jiangchen wanted to slap himself twice. Of all things, he had to say a dragon, a phoenix, and a vermilion bird. One had to know that the three great virtues were the dragon, the 9 netherworld phoenix, and the vermilion bird. This? Jiangchen felt guilty and asked weakly. "Those 3 guys are my underlings, you can't, don't worry, when I meet them, I'll just ask them to give me some blood essence and scales," Luo Yang said with a smile. However, Jiangchen looked at Luo Yang's smile and felt his scalp go numb. What if the 3 great virtues refused to give it to him? With Luo Yang's temper, she would most likely rob him, right? At that time, who would be able to stop her? 3 great virtues, it's my fault. I've let you down. Jiangchen smiled bitterly in his heart. He hoped that he would not meet the 3 great virtues in a short period of time. However, that was what he thought in his heart, but the reality was very cruel. "Boss! I'm here!" At that moment, an extremely ear-piercing voice came from afar. Looking over, wasn't that Huang Dade? He rushed in front of Jiangchen with an excited face and said, "Boss! You've been here for a long time. You're even faster than us. Cough, cough. If you have something to do, go do it first." Jiangchen gave Huang Dade a look, hinting for him to leave. However, with Huang Dade's IQ, he knew nothing. He was good at swindling and swindling people. "You're Huang Dade!" Luo Yang looked at Huang Dade with a smile, his eyes twinkling. "Ha! So, everyone has heard of my name?" Huang Dade said arrogantly. "Looks like I'm destined to be famous in this life. Let the world remember me. Stupid bird. Why aren't you leaving?" Jiangchen gritted his teeth and said anxiously, "Little girl, you're quite pretty. Why don't you follow me from now on and be my bed-warming maid?" Huang Dade's true nature was exposed as he stared at Luo Yang pervertedly. At this moment, Jiangchen turned his head around directly. He covered his ears with his hands and closed his eyes. He really didn't want to see or listen to this anymore. Luo Yang hated it when people thought that he was a woman. Hee hee. As expected, Luo Yang chuckled and the earth's energy exploded, turning into chains and trapping Huang Dade. "Little girl? What are you doing?" Huang Dade exclaimed. Then, he realized something and said, "Don't tell me, you're not suitable? You want to do it with me in broad daylight? That's impossible. Although, I don't mind, but it's better to find a place where there's no one around." Huang Dade mumbled shyly. "I think you're thinking too much." Luo Yang's face darkened and his eyebrows twitched. "What a pervert!" Chapter 490. As soon as he finished speaking, a cold light shot out from Luo Yang's hand and sliced open Huang Dade's body. Then, a strand of divine will entered Huang Dade's body and extracted more than 10 drops of blood essence. Are you trying to kill me? More than 10 drops of blood essence? I'm going to lose half of my life. Huang Dade was panicking as he cried and screamed at Jiangchen for help. However, Jiangchen had no other choice. You didn't notice that I was trying to signal you with my eyes and you were flirting with Luo Yang. No one can help you now. More than 10 drops of blood essence should be enough, right? At this moment, Luo Yang let go of Huang Dade and walked up to Jiangchen. It's enough. 1 drop is enough, Jiangchen said. In actual fact, phoenix blood was not needed for a pill that could change one's soul. Boss? She bullied me. Didn't you see? Aren't you going to help me? Huang Dade felt wronged. He had just returned to Jiangchen's side when he was drained of his blood. After he was drained of his blood, the phoenix feathers that he had painstakingly regrown fell off again. At this rate, when would he be able to regrow all his phoenix feathers? Could it be that he would have to live the rest of his life without any feathers? Huang Dade, my condolences. Jiangchen could only comfort him in this way. Huang Dade was about to cry his eyes out. What kind of world was this? Cough, cough. Go and look for Niao Dade and Long Dade. Tell them not to meet up with me for now, Jiangchen whispered to Huang Dade. Huang Dade nodded and said, I'll go and look for them now. However, Huang Dade's eyes flashed with a strange look. He looked at Jiangchen and then at Luo Yang and connected the dots between Jiangchen's words. The next moment, his eyes lit up as if he had understood something. Then, Huang Dade left with his face full of tears and his feathers all over the floor. Have you been to the scripture depository? At this moment, Jiangchen looked at Luo Yang and asked. There are some lost cultivation techniques and martial skills inside. You can go take a look. There's no need. Luo Yang shook his head and said, I don't lack those things. When these words came out, Jiangchen couldn't help being curious as to which sect Luo Yang was a disciple of. One had to know that to be able to marry the Azure Sea sect's holy son, not only did she need to have looks, she also needed to have status. Ordinary women, no matter how beautiful they were not worthy of holy son Tseng Ming. Which sect are you from? Jiangchen asked curiously. Beside the Luo River. Luo Yang frowned and said, Don't you know? I know. Jiangchen was stunned. But there are so many sects and clans on the banks of the Luo River. How would I know which sect you belong to? There's only one family with the surname Luo on the banks of the Luo River. Luo Yang said unhappily. A descendant of Luoshan's direct bloodline. Jiangchen was struck dumb when he heard that. A descendant of Luoshan's direct bloodline. Everyone knew that Luoshan was in charge of the 3,000-week water and was doing well in the 9 firmament's divine world. Little did they know that Luoshan relied on the 3,000-week water to make tea and boil water in the 9 firmament's divine world to survive. As expected of Luoshan's descendant, he's really good-looking. Jiangchen thought. Although Luoshan's strength wasn't too good, he was handsome. It was said that Luoshan was favored by an extremely powerful female master god. Now, he was probably, cough cough, kept by her. And now, looking at Luoshan's descendants, they must have inherited Luoshan's good bloodline. The men were handsome, and the women were beautiful. You're from the divine world. Do you know how my ancestor is doing in the 9 firmament's divine world? Luo Yang asked. He's doing pretty well. Jiangchen went against his conscience and said, He became a master god thousands of years ago. Now, he's titled Luo Shui Master God. That's good. Luo Yang's expression was strange as he muttered. The rumors are fake, right? They even said that the ancestor is boiling water for people in the 9 firmament's divine world. Jiangchen naturally heard this and smiled bitterly in his heart. He thought to himself, This rumor is true. Following that, the two of them had nothing to do. They prepared to stroll around the heavenly palace and make a trip to the spirit-gazing mountain. The spirit-gazing mountain was a place of good fortune within the heavenly palace. Legend had it that at the top of the spirit-gazing mountain, one could see some strange things. Once, someone saw a heavenly book imprinted in the void, and saw a certain page of the heavenly book. Finally, he comprehended it, and created a peerless martial skill. There were also people who saw their former selves on the spirit-gazing mountain and repented. They removed the heart demons in their hearts, and their cultivation soared. There were also people who saw some strange things, such as a sea of blood, lightning, and the descent of a divine king. In short, on the spirit-gazing mountain, one could see anything. It all depended on whether one's luck was enough or not. At the same time, the spirit-gazing mountain was also the most suitable place for cultivation in this third small world. Anyone who came to the heavenly palace would go to the spirit-gazing mountain to cultivate for a period of time. Let's cultivate on the spirit-gazing mountain for 10 days and replenish our cultivation before going to the fourth small world, Jiang Qin suggested. Why should I listen to you? Luo Yang said solemnly as a hint of purple flashed across his eyes. When Jiang Qin heard this voice, he hurriedly raised his head to look at the sky. A bright moon hung high in the sky. Luo Shui. Jiang Qin's heart tightened. He put on a smiling face and said, I'll listen to you. Then let's cultivate for 10 days. Luo Shui nodded. Jiang Qin's face stiffened as he cursed in his heart. Isn't it the same? Following that, the two of them walked side by side. Under the puzzled and envious gazes of the crowd, they walked towards the spirit-gazing mountain. Along the way, there were people pointing at Luo Shui and discussing among themselves. She's clearly engaged, yet she's still so close to another man. Shameless! She looks cold and arrogant on the surface, but who knows if she's a fickle woman? Listening to the voices coming from all around, Jiang Qin thought that if it were him, he would probably start a massacre. However, Luo Shui acted as if he didn't hear anything and continued walking. Don't you care? Jiang Qin asked. I'm a human. I don't understand barking. Luo Shui said softly. Luo Yang! What do you mean? At this moment, someone rushed over. Clearly, he had heard Luo Shui's words. My name is Luo Shui. Luo Shui said, a trace of helplessness flashing across his eyes. It was because the world only knew Luo Yang, but they did not know Luo Shui at night. I don't care if you're Luo Yang or Luo Shui. You have to be responsible for what you said just now. The youth shouted angrily. The aura of a middle-level divine realm expert erupted, and like a brilliant sun, he slowly rose. However, when Luo Shui's aura erupted, the youth's face immediately collapsed. Take responsibility? Why don't you try? Luo Shui glanced at him and said with disdain. You're so weak. Where did your courage come from? Sister Luo Shui, I'm just joking. Take care. The youth could be considered shameless. With a chuckle, he turned around and ran. You're really good. Jiang Qin teased. With your looks, can you still get married in the future? It's good that I can't get married. I can muddle along with a divine king like you. Luo Shui said softly, as if there was a hidden meaning in his words, causing Jiang Qin to be stunned. Chapter 491. Upon witnessing Luo Shui's calm and aloof expression, Jiang Qin couldn't help but think to himself that he was overthinking things. Following that, the two of them continued forward and soon arrived at the foot of Spirit-Gazing Peak. There were quite a few people who entered the heavenly palace. After all, there were many geniuses who entered the blood path. In total, there were at least 50,000 people who had the strength to enter the heavenly palace. Now, there weren't many people at the foot of Spirit-Gazing Peak, but there were still close to 10,000 people. These people divided their own territories, each minding their own business and cultivating. No one disturbed each other. This was an unwritten rule. After all, everyone here was here to cultivate. If anyone disturbed others' cultivation, it was very likely that others would be implicated. At that time, there would be a chaotic battle here. In this way, it was better to cultivate on their own. Whoever had a grudge could go elsewhere to settle it. The second most beautiful woman in the world, Luo Yang! The reincarnation of divine King Tianchen, Jiang Chen! At this moment, exclamations came from all around. There were even people who spat. A pair of dogs! Regarding this, Jiang Chen had a smile on his face, not caring at all. After all, he was a man. In this kind of matter, he would not lose out. Moreover, even Luo Shui did not care. What did he, a man, care about? However, when the two of them were about to go up the mountain, a few youths stood out and blocked the path to Spirit-Gazing Peak. Not everyone can climb the mountain, one of them said coldly. Luo Yang can, but you can't. Jiang Chen pointed at himself and asked. I can't? Why? Are you blind? Without deity realm cultivation, you are not allowed to enter Spirit-Gazing Peak. Another youth said solemnly. Don't think that with Luo Yang protecting you, you can break the rules. When did this kind of rule exist here? Jiang Chen asked curiously. Jiang Chen had come to Spirit-Gazing Peak before. At that time, there was no such rule. It's the rule set by my lord. You're not convinced? A youth raised his eyebrows and said, My lord is the young master of the northern Liang barbarian race. I thought it was the Bloody Path who set the rules again. I didn't expect it was you guys who said it. Jiang Chen curled his lips and said, Those are your rules, they don't suit me. After saying that, Jiang Chen lifted his foot and was about to step onto the mountain path. How dare you! How dare you! At this moment, these few youths roared out in anger. Some of them even attacked directly. Their palms were like mountains and rivers that pressed down on Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen's eyelids drooped slightly as the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He said softly, Not everyone is qualified to make a move against me. At the very least, none of you are. Boom! The moment his voice fell, Jiang Chen did not make a move, but the few youths were sent flying. So strong! He sent them flying with just his own aura. As expected of the reincarnation of the heavenly stellar god king. Exclamations sounded from all around, but no one thought that Jiang Chen would be able to walk up the Spirit-Gazing Peak. Because the young master of the northern cold barbarian tribe was on Spirit-Gazing Mountain. If you want to beat a dog, you have to look at its owner. At this moment, an extremely rough voice sounded from Spirit-Gazing Mountain. Following that, a youth wearing animal skin and holding a mace jumped down. Like a comet, he smashed in front of Jiang Chen. In an instant, dust flew as violent spiritual energy wantonly. There was even the aura of a godly state erupting. You are the young master of the northern cold barbarian tribe? Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows as his aura gradually rose. The brilliance of the sun and moon floated in his eyes. However, without waiting for Jiang Chen to make a move, Luo Shui took a step forward and pressed his palm on the youth's body. The youth's reaction was very fast, but he was not faster than Luo Shui. Under the palm, the youth's body trembled as cold sweat broke out on his forehead. After a few breaths, he knelt on the ground. We are going to cultivate here for 10 days. During these 10 days, I will have the final say with him, Luo Yang said softly. She nodded at Jiang Chen and said, Let's go up. I'm hugging a thigh. Jiang Chen's face turned red. He thought to himself that the world had really changed. He had let a woman protect him. However, this feeling was quite good. Jiang Chen was very lazy to begin with. Under normal circumstances, he would not be bothered to make a move. Now that he had Luo Shui, who was willing to make a move, Jiang Chen was naturally very satisfied. However, before they could take a few steps, they saw a tall and sturdy youth fly down from the mountain peak and block in front of Luo Shui. This person's blood energy soared into the sky, like a primordial beast. As his eyes opened and closed, a fierce light burst forth. Young master of the northern cold barbarian tribe, Man Xiaoxiong. The burly youth said in a deep voice as he stared at Luo Shui and said, You can go up, but he can't. You don't have the final say here. Luo Shui raised her eyebrows. Then let's give it a try. Man Xiaoxiong shouted loudly and directly soared into the sky. He even sent a voice transmission down. Little girl, do you dare to come? Little girl? Ha! Ha ha! The cold light in Luo Shui's eyes soared, and her laughter became strange. Jiang Chen's heart trembled. This was the first time he had heard such a terrifying and sinister laugh from Luo Shui. Get the hell down! At this moment, another youth rushed down from the mountain peak. With a furious roar, his fist was like a golden stone tablet as it pressed down towards Jiang Chen. Seeing this, Jiang Chen quickly retreated. At the same time, the power of heaven and earth in his hand transformed into a longbow and shot it through the air. Whoosh! With the sound of the air being torn apart, the arrow pierced through the void and pierced through the youth's shoulder blade, nailing him to the mountain wall. Boom! However, with an explosive sound, the youth's aura erupted, and the power of the lower divine stage surged. His figure shook and broke the arrow on his shoulder blade, and then his figure moved horizontally like a ferocious tiger as he pounced towards Jiang Chen. All of you, can't you all just stop for a moment? Do you know you're disturbing me? Before this punch could land, a woman's voice sounded out from the mountain peak. At this moment, the expressions of the youth and Man Xiuxiong changed slightly, and then they turned around and returned to the mountain peak. This is... At this moment, Jiang Chen's expression was extremely strange because this voice was too familiar to him. As he thought, Jiang Chen turned around and didn't intend to go to the top of Spirit Gazing Peak. However, Luo Shui returned to Jiang Chen's side and said in a low voice, Spirit Gazing Peak isn't owned by your family. Today, I'll take him to Spirit Gazing Peak. I'm not feeling well, so I won't go. Jiang Chen's expression became even more strange, and he wanted to pull Luo Shui's hand away. However, Luo Shui seemed to have a stubborn temper, and he pulled Jiang Chen's hand and directly charged towards the top of Spirit Gazing Peak. It's over, it's over. Can this be explained clearly? Jiang Chen felt bitter in his heart, and he said to himself, I'm afraid a battle that annihilates the heavens and the earth is about to erupt. At this moment, Jiang Chen could only pray in his heart. He hoped that he'd heard wrongly and that the woman at the top of Spirit Gazing Peak wasn't her. Chapter 492. Luo Shui brought Jiang Chen along as they rushed against the flow, and no one stopped them. When the two of them arrived at the top of Spirit Gazing Mountain, they saw Man Xiaoxiong and the others standing behind a woman. They seemed to be very respectful to this woman, and their eyes flickered with reverence. When Jiang Chen saw this woman, his face instantly collapsed. Especially when he realized that his hand was still being held by Luo Shui, Jiang Chen realized that today's matter was going to get out of hand. Oh? You have a little lover so soon? At this moment, the woman raised her eyebrows with a faint smile on her face. When Jiang Chen heard this, his entire body trembled and he said with a smile, This is... cough cough. A friend of mine. Friend. Bullshit. Who doesn't know about your relationship with Luo Shui? Man Xiaoxiong glared and said, It's really a fresh flower stuck in cow dung. A cabbage has been eaten by a pig. What did you say? Try saying it again. At this moment, the woman and Luo Shui both glared at each other, and a cold light flashed in their eyes. When Man Xiaoxiong saw this, he couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. He thought to himself, What's wrong with my big sister? Sister Hua, you... Man Xiaoxiong opened his mouth, but didn't dare to ask. At this moment, Jiang Chen came to his senses. As a master, how could he be afraid of his own disciple? One had to know that the woman standing in front of Man Xiaoxiong was Hua Lianyi. Disciple, I haven't seen you for a long time. I really miss you. Jiang Chen coughed a few times and said in all seriousness. However, Hua Lianyi didn't fall for this. One had to know that among Jiang Chen's female disciples, Hua Lianyi was the first one to sleep with Jiang Chen. According to the hierarchy of the harem, Hua Lianyi was the main wife. Tell me, should I call you master or husband? Grinding her teeth, Hua Lianyi stared at Jiang Chen. She said, Aren't the three of us enough? You're still thinking of flirting outside? I'm a womanizer? Jiang Chen said snappily. Which eye of yours saw it? After saying that, Jiang Chen's expression turned serious, and he said, How can you talk to your master like that? Is it because I haven't seen you for a while that you've grown up? Hearing this, Hualiani realized that she was Jiang Chen's apprentice. However, looking at Jiang Chen and Luo Shui being so intimate, Hualiani didn't feel good. Your wings have hardened. What's wrong? Hualiani raised her eyebrows and released her aura. Her cultivation had reached the upper level of the immortal state. This made Jiang Chen dumbfounded. What was wrong with this world? His disciple's cultivation far surpassed his master's. Was there any justice in this? I don't care what your relationship is. Jiang Chen is under my protection, Luo Shui said coldly. Her cold gaze swept around and said, If anyone is not convinced, you can come and fight. After saying that, Luo Shui added, The two of us are going to cultivate here for 10 days. During these 10 days, I have the final say in Wangling Mountain. Who do you think you are? Hualiani's eyes narrowed. The two women faced each other, either giving way to the other. Following Hualiani's words, Man Xiaoxiong and the other followers took a step forward and stood opposite Luo Shui. Seeing this, Jiang Chen felt a headache and hurriedly said, We're all on the same side. She's my disciple. Jiang Chen said to Luo Shui and then explained to Hualiani, I really have nothing to do with her. Humph. Humph. However, the two women seemed to have offended Jiang Chen. They snorted coldly and didn't speak again. Neither did they pay attention to Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen was speechless. He looked at the people around him and blushed. He said awkwardly, This is a family matter. It's a family matter. Everyone, please don't mind it. He's simply a beast. Someone rebuked angrily. He abandoned his disciple's wife and actually fooled around outside. Bah! He's worse than a beast. Man Xiaoxiong also sighed. It's really 2 flowers stuck in cow dung. Bang! Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, Hualiani and Luo Shui both struck out with their palms and directly sent Man Xiaoxiong flying. Don't talk about him! Hualiani shouted angrily. Try saying another word about him, Luo Shui said coldly. Man Xiaoxiong's face was bitter. After standing up from afar, he muttered, I also want to be that pile of cow dung. To be honest, I also want to. Many people muttered in their hearts. They could be said to be envious of Jiang Chen. At this moment, Jiang Chen's face was calm. Then, he casually found a place, sat down cross-legged, and began to cultivate. As for Hualiani and Luo Shui, they could do whatever they wanted. However, before Jiang Chen could cultivate for long, a series of exclamations came from the foot of the mountain. Then, a young man in black walked up to the top of Spirit Gazing Mountain alone. Holy Sun Tsengming! He's really back. I heard that he's already in the 5th small world. I didn't expect him to turn back for Luoyang. At this moment, exclamations exploded. Some people followed him up, wanting to see what would happen next. My fiancé is here. Luo Shui walked to Jiang Chen's side and poked Jiang Chen's shoulder with her slender hand, saying, I've protected you for so long. Shouldn't you show me some appreciation? What appreciation? Jiang Chen said unhappily. He sat cross-legged on the ground and didn't even open his eyes. What kind of joke was this? Even Holy Sun Tsengming's subordinate, Qilan, had such a high cultivation. Holy Sun Tsengming's cultivation was probably even more terrifying. Jiang Chen was only at the sage stage. How could he compete with Holy Sun Tsengming? Luoyang, come with me. After a dozen breaths, a tall and handsome young man in black walked up to the top of the mountain. When he looked at Luo Shui, his eyes flickered with a gentle light. However, deep in his eyes there was a trace of disgust and killing intent. Obviously, he cared a lot about the green hat on his head. I'm already his woman, Luo Shui said with a faint smile. She pointed at Jiang Chen, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, and said, He's now my man. F***ck. Are you playing with fire? If I'm killed by Holy Sun Tsengming, you'll take responsibility? Jiangchen roared in his heart. He had already checked Holy Sun Tsangming's cultivation. This guy was at the upper level of the immortal stage. There was already a wisp of immortal chi floating in his body. This was a sign that he was about to step into the immortal stage. Such a person was probably invincible in the Bloody Road at this time. Luoyang, we have a marriage contract. Even if you don't like me, you have to marry me, Holy Sun Tsangming said in a deep voice. This is a marriage contract between the Tsangming sect and the Luoshan clan. Then you have to ask my man if he agrees to let me go with you. Luo Shui mocked and secretly kicked Jiang Chen's back. She gritted her teeth and said coldly, "Why aren't you getting up?" Chapter 493. Without waiting for Jiang Chen to get up, Hua Lianyi exploded. She stared at Luo Shui and said in a low voice, "Who is your man? You better make yourself clear. Am I not clear enough?" Luo Shui had a provocative look on her face as she wrapped her arm around Jiang Chen's neck and said intimately, "Am I right?" Jiang Chen also panicked when he heard this. What kind of joke is this? I have nothing to do with you two. Now that you've done this, everyone thinks that we really have something to do with each other. I'm not going to take the blame for this. At this moment, Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed. It's time to turn things around. However, just as Jiang Chen got up, he saw a cold glint in Luo Shui's eyes. That, you guys have the final say. Jiang Chen smiled and thought to himself. Forget it. It's not rational to go against a peerless genius at the upper level of the immortal realm. Moreover, the other party was a woman. Jiang Chen followed the principle of men not fighting with women and silently sat back down. Seeing this, Hua Lianyi felt even more upset. "Master, what do you mean? Do you really have something to do with her?" Hua Lianyi's face was full of grievances as her eyes reddened and tears overflowed. "Don't you love me anymore?" Jiang Chen didn't want to say anything at the moment. "What the hell? Can't you see that Saint Sun Tsangming is here? Instead of dealing with Saint Sun Tsangming, you want to deal with me first? I don't want to care about your matters," Saint Sun Tsangming said coldly. "I only want her." Saint Sun Tsangming stepped forward and came to Luo Shui's side. He said in an extremely low voice, "Come with me. Otherwise, die." Clearly, Saint Sun Tsangming was really angry. He was the saint son of the Tsangming sect. What kind of woman couldn't he find? And now, Luo Shui had cuckolded him. If news of this were to spread, where would he put his face? Where would the Tsangming sect's face be? Die. "He, do you have this ability?" Luo Shui said in disdain. Luo Shui's strength was naturally very strong. There was no doubt about this. However, just as she finished speaking, her body suddenly trembled slightly. Following that, Luoyang's consciousness took control of his body. When Jiang Chen saw this situation, his heart could not help but sink. That was because Luoyang's strength was inferior to Luo Shui's. In that case, would Luoyang be able to defeat Holy Sun Tsangming with his strength? "What are you doing? Why are you so close to me?" At this moment, Luo Yan had just woken up from his stupor. He stared at Saint Sun Tsangyen who was right in front of him, a trace of disgust flashing through his eyes. "Come with me!" Holy Sun Tsangming didn't seem to want to speak anymore. He stretched out a palm and pressed it on Luo Yang's shoulder. "Who do you think you are?" Luo Yang also had a violent temper. He flung Holy Sun Tsangyen's hand away with a single palm strike. Following which, the power of the earth beneath his feet surged forth, causing numerous earth spikes to shoot into the skies. The earth spikes were like a torrential downpour, instantly engulfing Holy Sun Tsangyen. Bang! However, with a loud explosion, the earth spikes that filled the skies shattered, and Holy Sun Tsangming appeared in front of everyone unscathed. "Luo Yang, don't force me!" Holy Sun Tsangming said in a low voice. "I don't want to fight with you." Luo Yang was a descendant of Luoshan's clan, and Luoshan's clan was very powerful on the godless continent, comparable to the Tsangming sect. If the two of them really fought and there were casualties, then the two forces would definitely go to war. At that time, their vitality would be damaged. Force you? Head, do you have the right? Luo Yan was very arrogant. Streaks of earth-yellow power of the earth appeared around her, and a thick layer of earth armor appeared on her body. However, Luo Yan was not Luo Shui. As soon as she exerted her strength, Holy Sun Tseng-Ming suppressed her with a single palm strike and sealed her cultivation. Following which, Holy Sun Tseng-Ming grabbed Luo Yang's shoulder in front of everyone and said coldly, "Woman, it's time for you to teach her a lesson. I say, isn't it inappropriate to take her away just like that?" At this moment, Jiang Chen had no choice but to step forward. He stood up and stood in front of Holy Sun Tseng-Ming. "Everyone knows that she's mine. If you take her away in front of me, where will I put my face? And I only want to take her away today. I don't want to kill you," Holy Sun Tseng-Ming said coldly. Saint Sun Tseng-Ming said coldly, "However, if you insist on doing so, I don't mind taking your lowly life that is no different from an ant." "Heh, lowly ant? Lowly and lowly?" Jiang Chen snorted, and a wisp of fire burned in his eyes. Yes, Holy Sun Tseng-Ming was very strong. However, was Jiang Chen weak? Now that he had cultivated the incomplete heavenly manual for some time, Jiang Chen's battle strength was gradually recovering. Moreover, Jiang Chen had mastered so many secret techniques. If he really wanted to kill, Holy Sun Tseng-Ming might not be his match. However, when that time came, Jiang Chen would have to pay a great price. "Who are you calling lowly and lowly?" However, before Jiang Chen could make a move, Hua Lianyi shouted angrily. Man Xiaoxiong and the others behind her stepped forward and locked their gazes on Holy Sun Tseng-Ming. Seeing this, Holy Sun Tseng-Ming smiled disdainfully and said fearlessly, "So what if all of you come together? I, Tseng-Ming, am not someone you can fight against. How dare you humiliate my master's husband? You've lived long enough," Hua Lianyi said in a low voice. She waved her hand at Man Xiaoxiong and the others and said, "I'll deal with him. Sister Hua, this is not good, right?" Man Xiaoxiong frowned and said, "He's Holy Sun Tseng-Ming. If we join forces, we can fight him." "Holy Sun Tseng-Ming? What is he?" Hua Lianyi said disdainfully. As soon as she finished speaking, Hua Lianyi formed a seal with her hands and pressed it against the void. Buzz! In an instant, the void cracked open, and 9 light doors appeared and opened. In the next moment, 9 terrifying auras erupted, and 9 battle spirits stepped out of the light doors. At a closer look, those were 9 upper immortal realm ancient battle spirits. "He's already so strong?" Jiang Chen thought to himself. He felt gratified. So it's spirit summoning. Holy Sun Tseng-Ming frowned, also feeling troubled. However, he did not retreat. Instead, he did not wait for the battle spirits to attack and struck Jiang Chen with a thunderous palm. Jiang Chen was so focused on Hua Lianyi that he did not expect Holy Sun Tseng-Ming to suddenly attack. At this moment, Jiang Chen, who was caught off guard, was sent flying. His internal organs almost ruptured, and spiderweb-like cracks appeared on his body. Even his divine soul was flickering like a lamp, almost extinguished. "You're courting death." Hua Lianyi was furious. With a roar, she waved her hand, and the 9 battle spirits rushed toward Holy Sun Tseng-Ming. "So what if I'm spirit summoning? Do you know what my occupation is?" Holy Sun Tseng-Ming said softly. With a wave of his hand, dark auras appeared around him. Then, a black light burst out like a black spear. When it burst out, the void collapsed, and even the light of the world was swallowed. "Dark sorcerer!" Jiang Chen exclaimed softly. He saw the bodies of the 9 battle spirits begin to rot, and one of them was pierced by the black spear and died on the spot. Chapter 494. Dark Sorcerer was also a type of arcane master, but much more terrifying than normal arcane masters. This class was proficient in all kinds of arcane skills. However, each arcane skill contained the dark attribute, which could devour and corrode everything. Moreover, dark sorcerers' mental strength was extremely terrifying. They could disturb others' minds and even control their thoughts. Most importantly, the dark sorcerer's power of darkness was a natural counter to all summoned creatures. For example, ghosts, war spirits, etc. Now, Hualiani, a war spirit, happened to encounter the dark sorcerer Holy Sun Tsengyan. She was naturally countered. I didn't want to fight. Holy Sun Tsengyan spoke in a low voice. But now, it seems that you people should just disappear from this world. Boom! Boom! As he spoke, a black pool of water appeared. It was sticky and emitted a foul stench. The pool of water spread out and enveloped the other war spirits in a few breaths' time. In just a few breaths' time, the war spirits all died. At that moment, Hualiani's expression became serious. A trace of panic appeared in her eyes. After all, she was a woman and had always been protected by Jiangchen. Whenever something big or small happened, Jiangchen would always be there to take care of it. Now, Hualiani encountered such a situation for the first time. She naturally panicked. PSSH. At that moment, a black spear pierced through the air. Before Jiangchen and Hualiani could react, the spear pierced through Hualiani's chest. A cluster of blood splattered out like cherry blossoms, bright with a trace of sadness. Liani! Jiangchen's eyes narrowed. Previously, he was heavily injured by Holy Sun Tsengyan's sneak attack. Now that he saw Hualiani injured, he dragged his heavily injured body and flashed to her side. If I die, will you miss me? Hualiani's life aura was very weak. Her face was pale as her vitality was being eroded by the power of darkness. At that moment, Jiangchen's eyes were red, but he smiled and said, I won't miss you because you won't die. Then, Jiangchen formed a seal with his hands and used nirvana to seal Hualiani. Then, Jiangchen slowly stood up with a kind smile on his face. You're really something. It had been a long time since Jiangchen smiled like this. Anyone who knew what was going on would know that Jiangchen was truly enraged at this moment. Holy Sun Deep Blue Sea could take Luo Shui away, but he could also heavily injure Jiangchen with a sneak attack. However, he absolutely could not touch the people around Jiangchen. That was Jiangchen's reverse scale. Today, you will die as well, Holy Sun Tsengming said disdainfully. Such a lowly ant? Normally, I wouldn't even be in the mood to attack him. Really? Ants? Jiangchen's smile grew brighter and brighter, but there were rumbling sounds coming from within his body. In the next moment, before Saint Sun Tsengyan could react, Jiangchen rapidly formed a seal with his hands, and a Buddhist light shone down. All living beings are equal! With a roar, the Buddhist secret technique was unleashed. Instantly, Holy Sun Tsengming's expression changed. His cultivation was actually suppressed to the lower level of the divine realm. However, this was not a problem for Holy Sun Tsengming. So what if he was a lower-level divine realm cultivator? One had to know that Jiangchen was only at the sage realm. With such a huge difference in cultivation and the fact that they were both geniuses, Holy Sun Tsengming did not think that Jiangchen could pose a threat to him. With such a huge difference in cultivation, your all living beings are equal won't be able to suppress my cultivation much, Holy Sun Tsengming said disdainfully. It's enough. Jiangchen narrowed his eyes and said softly, Do you know that I have mastered many cultivation techniques and martial techniques, but in reality, when I fight with others, I use a bunch of random martial techniques? So what? What's the point of telling me this? Holy Sun Tsengming said disdainfully. He was in no hurry to attack. He wanted to see what kind of tricks this ant in his eyes could play. Because I like to be direct. Jiangchen raised his eyebrows. Cryptic patterns appeared on his body, as if they were totems. In the next moment, a terrifying blood chi rose from Jiangchen's body and turned into a blood cloud that floated above his head. As for the patterns on his body, they were completely revealed. At a closer look, it looked like a true dragon tattoo, but at a closer look, it also looked like a qilin. However, after a few more looks, it looked like other living beings. It was as if the runes were formed by countless living beings. Although I'm proficient in all professions, in the end, my strongest point is still my physical body. Jiang Chen said softly. 3,000 years ago, I entered the martial path as a martial master. Due to a series of coincidences, I became proficient in all professions. However, my martial master profession is too powerful. Therefore, under normal circumstances, I'm not willing to use my martial master profession to bully others. At this point, Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed. He stared at Saint Sun Tsungming and said, "But today, I'm afraid I'll have to show you. What's the point of saying so much nonsense?" Saint Sun Tsungming said disdainfully, "In the end, you'll die at my hands." Heh! Jiang Chen snorted. Then, like a ghost, he charged forward. He didn't make any fancy movements, nor did he use any martial techniques. As he charged forward, his body seemed to have broken through some kind of limit and actually crossed the void. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Chen appeared in front of Saint Sun Tsungming. Under Saint Sun Tsungming's shocked gaze, a fist that looked like it was made of gold smashed into his face. Bang! With a muffled sound, Saint Sun Tsungming's face distorted. His nose and mouth exploded, and his face was covered in blood. Moreover, the force of this punch seemed to be extremely powerful. It shook Saint Sun Tsungming so much that all his bones were cracking. Impossible! Saint Sun Tsungming took a few steps back and cried out in shock. He couldn't believe that a martial master of the sage realm could actually hurt him. When a martial sage reaches the martial sage realm, they become martial sages. Jiang Chen said softly. How's my martial sage cultivation? Heh, I was just careless. Saint Sun Tsungming said coldly. It's just some flesh wounds. Careless? Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows. As soon as he finished speaking, his body moved horizontally, leaving behind afterimages in the air. This wasn't a doppelganger, but his speed was too fast. Saint Sun Tsungming focused his eyes. He could clearly see Jiang Chen's figure. Insignificant skill! Saint Sun Tsungming shouted. Spears of darkness condensed around him and shot toward Jiang Chen. Insignificant skill! Jiang Chen replied with the same words. At the same time, his fists danced. There was nothing fancy about it. However, with every punch, a golden rain of light would fall. His body looked like it was made of gold. After 3 consecutive punches, 6 spears of darkness were shattered. Then, Jiang Chen charged forward and arrived in front of Saint Sun Tsungming. He raised his arm and clenched his fist. A golden light exploded, and then his fist fell like a dazzling sun. This time, this punch still didn't use any martial techniques. You want to defeat me with just the strength of your physical body? Saint Sun Tsungming said disdainfully as he casually threw out a punch. Chapter 495. In Holy Sun Tsungming's eyes, he had been careless before. Now, his palm was enough to block Jiang Chen's punch. However, when the fist and palm collided, Holy Sun Tsungming's expression changed drastically. His palm twisted, and with a bang, it turned into a bloody mist. Even a layer of the power of darkness that enveloped his body was shaken off. What's wrong with physical strength? Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows. Do you understand that brute force can break all techniques? That's a realm. You ant, how is that possible? Holy Sun Tsungming roared angrily. His palm instantly reformed, and at the same time, a dark technique erupted. A netherworld phoenix rushed out from the void. Wherever the netherworld phoenix passed, the netherworld fire burned everything. Even the void was ignited. The scorching heat carried a dark aura. Wherever the netherworld phoenix passed, it seemed to burn everything. However, Jiang Chen was unafraid. The undying bird Tao spirit rushed out from his body. With a long cry, the flames surged and directly turned the netherworld phoenix into dust. Immediately after, Jiang Chen rushed forward again. He arrived in front of Holy Sun Tsungming and punched again. This time, Holy Sun Tsungming was afraid and quickly retreated. However, Jiang Chen was extremely fast. Every time Holy Sun Tsang-ming retreated, he would take a few steps forward. A sage is actually chasing after Holy Sun Tsang-ming. Chasing after him? That's not appropriate! Exclamations filled the air. Some people even rubbed their eyes, doubting their eyes. As expected of the reincarnation of godly King Tianqin, someone exclaimed, but his eyes flashed with contempt. So what if godly King Tianqin was reincarnated? The difference in cultivation between Jiangqin and Holy Sun Tsang-ming was too great. Although Saint Sun Tsang-ming had been injured, this was nothing to someone at his level of cultivation. It was just a flesh wound. You have some skills, Holy Sun Tsang-ming said softly. Although he was injured, there was no trace of fear in his eyes. At this moment, Holy Sun Tsang-ming no longer retreated. He rushed forward, and when he raised his fist, it was like a black swamp was floating in his hand. Boom! The two fists collided, and the power of darkness erupted. The fist radiance grew even brighter as if it wanted to swallow Jiang Chen's entire arm whole. 1. With a deafening roar, Jiang Chen's body erupted with a scarlet gold radiance. His fist transformed into a taotai that swallowed up all of Saint Sun Tsang-ming's power of darkness. What in the world is this? Holy Sun Tsang-ming exclaimed, a hint of fear finally appearing in his eyes. Myriad beast's body! The markings on his body, could it be? At this moment, cries of surprise rang out from all around. There were even people who revealed the secret of the lines on Jiang Chen's body. The runes that seemed like 10,000 spirits were actually a kind of secret technique. Using the power of 10,000 spirits to strengthen himself, he transformed into the body of 10,000 beasts. In this state, Jiang Chen could freely use part of the abilities of every living being. A martial artist is the way of the king! Jiang Chen shouted. Flames erupted from his body, but it was a flickering red. The scorching heat caused cracks to appear in the void, and an obscure aura filled the air. Moreover, a blazing qilin appeared behind Jiang Chen. This was qilin fire. Qilins were auspicious beasts of heaven and earth. The flames on their bodies could burn all the filth in the world. Qi! In an instant, the qilin fire rushed out and ignited Saint Sun Tsang-ming. The power of darkness on his body was ignited, and he let out a few muffled groans. Other than these little tricks, what else do you have? Saint Sun Tsang-ming roared. As his pupils constricted, a terrifying wave of spiritual energy erupted. He wanted to control Jiang Chen's mind. However, Jiang Chen's spiritual energy was extremely powerful. With a single thought, a formless spiritual energy storm erupted. Boom! Boom! A few violent explosions rang out. Their spiritual energies collided invisibly, shaking the void to the point of shattering. What powerful spiritual energy! He's only at the sage stage, but his spiritual energy is so powerful! Everyone exclaimed as they saw Jiang Chen rush out again. This time, Jiang Chen burned his blood essence, and his entire body was enveloped by the power of heaven and earth. He threw out punch after punch, simple and unadorned, but it gave off a feeling of invincibility. Saint Sun Tsang-ming's heart palpitated as he used his dark arts one after another, turning the area around him into a dark zone. In the air, dark spears fell like a storm, and on the ground, black vines shot up into the sky. In his palms, two black balls of light spun like two dark dragon balls, heading straight for Jiang Chen. This is nothing! Jiang Chen roared as he formed a seal with both hands, and a blinding holy light erupted. In an instant, everyone's vision turned white. They couldn't see anything at all. Pooh! When the white light disappeared, everyone heard a muffled groan. Then they saw Saint Sun Tsang-ming's head separated from his body. He had been beheaded. What? This is impossible! At this moment, cries of surprise shook the sky. Everyone's eyes widened in disbelief. Even Saint Sun Tsang-ming himself couldn't believe it. What had happened under that white light? Die! Jiang Chen roared as he rushed forward. He formed a fist seal with both hands and punched Saint Sun Tsang-ming's head. However, Saint Sun Tsang-ming was too powerful. His head was separated from his body, but he didn't die. It could be seen that after his head was punched by Jiang Chen, it flew away quickly, before it was connected to his body. Just now, what was that? Saint Sun Tsung-Ming said in a low voice, a hint of fear flashing through his eyes. Saint Sun Tsung-Ming couldn't see anything in that white light. However, he could feel that an extremely terrifying force had struck him. It was that force that had beheaded him. That's a force you can't reach, Jiang Chen said coldly. Pooh! However, just as he finished speaking, Jiang Chen's face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. This was because when that white light exploded, Jiang Chen had used the myriad transformations Heaven Slash. However, what Jiang Chen didn't expect was that Saint Sun Tsung-Ming was so strong that he didn't die under the myriad transformations Heaven Slash. Now, the backlash of the myriad transformations Heaven Slash had erupted, and Jiang Chen was extremely weak. What made Jiang Chen the most helpless was that the effect of the Buddhist mystic technique, all lives equal, had disappeared. At this moment, Saint Sun Tsung-Ming's cultivation had recovered to the upper level of the deity realm. He was only a step away from the deity realm. And die. Saint Sun Tsung-Ming was truly enraged. He had been repeatedly injured by the ant in his eyes, and even his head had been chopped off. If he didn't kill Jiang Chen today, he would lose all face as Saint Sun Tsung-Ming. My life is in my hands, Jiang Chen roared. His hair danced wildly, and the blood essence in his body burned. The power of his divine physique erupted, and his entire person was like a primordial beast. Beside Jiang Chen, the phantoms of ferocious beasts appeared. There were true dragons, phoenixes, luans, tautais. He was like the king of all beasts, and his body underwent shocking changes. Chapter 496. Body of all beasts. Pilgrimage of all beasts. At that moment, Jiang Chen roared as blood clouds rolled above his head. Violent qi and blood surged, and a layer of blood mist filled the surroundings. Dragon horns grew out of his forehead, his hands turned into eagle claws, his feet were like qilin hooves, and a phoenix tail appeared behind his back. His entire body was covered in pitch-black scales, and the image of a phoenix appeared on his face. When his eyes opened and closed, the flames of an undying phoenix burned. This is too terrifying. What's going on with this blood qi? So powerful! Everyone exclaimed as they saw that the clouds within thousands of miles were dyed red by Jiang Chen's blood qi. Even Saint Sun Tsung-Yen was moved. He could feel that the ant in front of him had become extremely powerful. However, Saint Sun Tsung-Yen was still fearless. He reached out his hand, and a dark spear appeared. It was covered in cryptic patterns that seemed to be able to swallow everything. With a raise of his hand, the spear shot out, piercing through the void and landing in front of Jiang Chen in the blink of an eye. Clang! However, with the sound of metal clashing, Jiang Chen raised his eagle claws and caught the dark spear effortlessly. Then, with a light shake of his eagle claws, the dark spear shattered and turned into nothingness. Ever since I entered the bloody path, I knew that I could no longer keep a low profile, Jiang Chen said softly. I just didn't expect this day to come so soon. Today is also the day of your death, Saint Sun Tsung-Yen said coldly. He formed a seal with his hands, and his spirit power erupted. Then, a dark cloud condensed. The dark cloud was like a tribulation cloud, but it was filled with blood-red eyes. The dark cloud landed on top of Jiang Chen's head, and the power of darkness poured down. Destructive light beams shot out from the blood-red eyes. The void in this area was shattered, and the berserk dark energy was dancing chaotically. Even the ground under Jiang Chen's feet collapsed. A black abyss appeared under Jiang Chen's feet, and a huge suction force erupted, as if it wanted to swallow Jiang Chen. Fuyao! Jiang Chen shouted, and a pair of Kunpeng wings appeared on his back. He flapped his wings, and like a real Kunpeng, he soared 90,000 miles into the sky. His body seemed to be burning as he charged into the black clouds. The roar of a dragon shook the air. Then, the flames exploded and burned half the sky red. As the dark clouds dissipated, Jiangchen stood in the air like a god. Then, Jiangchen stomped his feet on the void below, and the Qilin flames fell into the abyss. Boom! Following a series of explosions, the abyss collapsed, and the power of darkness dissipated. Dark imprisonment! Holy Sun Deep Blue shouted. He formed seals with his hands and another spell technique erupted. This time, the black fog wrapped around Jiangchen's body. There was also a sealing force that seemed to want to seal Jiangchen's power. However, the Qilin flames on Jiangchen's body surged, and a pure and holy radiance appeared on his dragon horns. The crimson and holy radiance intersected, burning the black fog into nothingness. In the next moment, Jiangchen charged out like a falling meteor. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Holy Sun Deep Blue. You! Damn you! Jiangchen shouted. Under Holy Sun Deep Blue's horrified gaze, his eagle claw fell and grabbed Holy Sun Deep Blue's neck. Then, the eagle claw exerted force and broke Holy Sun Deep Blue's neck. His head and body were separated again. This time, Jiangchen did not give Holy Sun Deep Blue a chance. His phoenix tail swept out like a sharp sword, turning Holy Sun Deep Blue's body into dust. However, Holy Sun Deep Blue's head was pushed back 1,000 meters. Without waiting for Jiangchen to charge out again, Holy Sun Deep Blue roared. The power of darkness rumbled like a furnace. In almost an instant, Holy Sun Deep Blue's body was reconstructed, and he appeared in front of Jiangchen in perfect condition. "Ant! You've angered me!" Saint Sun Tseng roared in anger. Being beheaded by a Saint Realm cultivator twice in a row was undoubtedly a great humiliation to him. On this day, even if he managed to kill Jiangchen, Saint Sun Tseng would still lose face. "I'll destroy your body and turn your soul into a green lamp. I'll make you suffer the pain of burning for 10,000 years. I'll make you wish you were dead," Holy Sun Deep Blue said coldly. "You are not worthy," Jiangchen whispered. The Kuan-Ping wings on his back flapped, and his speed was extremely fast. It was as if he had crossed the void and appeared in front of Holy Sun Deep Blue once again. He raised his eagle claw like an indestructible sword. Under his claw, the void shattered. Separated by 100 meters, the eagle claw suddenly appeared on top of Holy Sun Deep Blue's head. Jiangchen said disdainfully, "You're just a warlock. What else can you do after being closed in on?" However, before Jiangchen's eagle claw could land, a muffled sound came from behind Jiangchen. Following that, fresh blood spurted out from Jiangchen's back. He staggered a few steps and almost fell. At the same time, the myriad beast's body was shattered, and Jiangchen returned to his original appearance. "Mu Xingyun!" At this moment, Jiangchen's eyes were bloodshot, and his heart was filled with extreme hatred. This was because while he was fighting Holy Sun Deep Blue, Mu Xingyun had snuck up behind him and launched a sneak attack. And this sneak attack was undoubtedly fatal to Jiangchen. The power in his body had been scattered, and even his soul had been severely injured. If not for his strong physical body, this sneak attack would have been enough to take Jiangchen's life. After Mu Xingyun's sneak attack, he instantly disappeared, leaving behind only one sentence. "Your life is in your hands? I'm afraid it's not up to you. Mu Xingyun! I'll kill you sooner or later!" Jiangchen roared, but his heart sank to the bottom. The myriad beast's body had been shattered, and he couldn't use it for a while. In this way, how could Jiangchen compete with Holy Sun Deep Blue? If my master dies as his disciple, I'm afraid I'll lose a lot of face. However, right at that moment, a woman with a graceful figure and a seductive aura stepped through the air and arrived. Her appearance was peerless, and she was like a fairy who had fallen into the mortal world. She walked over with graceful steps, as if she were dancing. At the same time, an extremely terrifying power suddenly appeared in Jiangchen's body. Jiangchen stood up once again due to this power. He exerted the myriad beast's body, and even his aura soared to the great Saint Realm. "Master, you have to do your best. In the distance, the woman smiled charmingly. She gently touched her red lips with her finger and blinked her charming eyes. I'll dance for you. Who is she? Her appearance isn't inferior to Luo Yang's. She's a war dancer? Exclamations were heard all around, and some people even revealed greedy looks for this woman. Jiang Qin didn't want to say much at this moment. After getting up, he clenched his right hand in the air and shouted, "Condense!" With the word, "condense," the power of heaven and earth burst forth like a tide. Then, it condensed into a sharp sword in Jiang Qin's right hand. Chapter 497. With the dragon bone sword in hand and the blood-colored clouds under his feet, he soared into the sky like a great rock spreading its wings. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Qin appeared in front of Saint Sun Tsengyan. The dragon bone sword in his hand pierced down, shattering the void. The sword was extremely fast, like a flash of lightning. Saint Sun Tsengyan reacted quickly and dodged to the side, but his shoulder was still cut. Fresh blood splattered. Saint Sun Tsengyan's shoulder exploded, and cracks appeared on half of his body. War dancer? Saint Sun Tsengyan's eyes narrowed, and a fierce glint flashed in his eyes. He reconstructed his body in an instant, and charged toward the war dancer. How dare you! Jiang Qin was furious. He used his concealment technique, and his figure was like a ghost. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the war dancer and said with a smile, "Disciple, you're so charming. Aren't you afraid of being targeted? With a master like you around, what do I have to be afraid of?" The war dancer said with a charming smile. And this person was Nayland Mayer. How many beauties does this guy have around him? Luo Shui, Hualiani, and now Nayland Mayer. The group of people around had ugly expressions. They felt like several cabbages had been eaten by the same pig. At this moment, Saint Sun Tsengyan had already arrived. The power of darkness erupted, and his entire body was like a black hole. He formed a seal with his hands, and the void distorted as if it had turned into a swamp. Nayland Mayer's dancing body slowed down, and the power she was exerting on Jiang Qin's body also weakened significantly. Boom! The next moment, Saint Sun Tsengming attacked, and dozens of black spears shot out in succession and pierced Jiang Qin's body. However, Jiang Qin was still standing where he was. He didn't move at all. His body emitted divine light, and the dragon horns on his forehead emitted a layer of light rain. It was like a layer of kasaya that covered Jiang Qin's body. Those dark spears landed on Jiang Qin, but they could not hurt him at all. I'd like to see how well you can dance. I want to see how long you can last. Holy Sun Tsengyan's heart was burning with rage. He was dealing with a saint stage cultivator, but he couldn't kill him even after so long. To him, this was simply a humiliation. If you want to fight, I can beat you until you submit, Jiang Qin said coldly. He formed a seal with his hands and layers of array formations formed, protecting Nayland Mayer. Then, Jiang Qin charged out and continued his battle with Saint Sun Tsengyan. Jiang Qin had heavenly stars in his body, and his power was endless. His physical body was so strong that he did not need to use any moves at all. Holy Sun Deep Blue Sea was also very powerful. He constantly used dark magic techniques, as if he would never stop. Just like that, the two of them continued to fight fiercely. For a time, neither of them could do anything to the other. The people around him were shocked. They couldn't imagine how a cultivator at the saint stage could fight a prodigy at the upper level of the god stage until now. Even with war dance's encouragement, ordinary people wouldn't be able to do this. He's really too strong. No wonder he could unify the godless continent 3,000 years ago. So he's really strong. He's very strong, but there are many people stronger than him in this lifetime. Some people exclaimed, while others scoffed. They thought that it was impossible for Jiang Qin to regain his glory in this lifetime. 12 hours later, Jiang Qin and Holy Sun Tsengyan were still fighting fiercely. At this moment, both of them were injured. Holy Sun Tsingyan had lost a lot of blood essence because his physical body was constantly being slashed by Jiangqun. Each time his physical body was slashed, he had to use blood essence to reforge it. Over time, Holy Sun Tsingyan's face turned pale. He lacked blood essence and felt powerless. Even the speed at which he used spells slowed down significantly. At the same time, Jiangqun was also exhausted from the continuous fighting. Black bruises had appeared on his body. They were wounds left behind by the power of darkness. At the same time, Nayland Mayer's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Her face was pale, and the spirit energy in her body was almost exhausted. Jiangqun! You're about to die! Holy Sun Tsingyan said coldly. Seeing that Nayland Mayer was about to run out of spirit energy, he couldn't help but become agitated. After fighting for so long, this battle was finally about to end. Jiangqun was also very helpless. He had already done his best to be able to reach this point. It was just a pity that Holy Sun Tsingyan was too strong. Such a peerless genius whose cultivation was much higher than Jiangqun's was indeed not someone he could deal with. Looking at the situation now, if he waited until Nayland Mayer could no longer dance, then Jiangqun would undoubtedly die. However, Jiangqun did not panic at all. Because after fighting for so long, a day had passed, and the sky was about to turn dark. After half an incense stick's time, when the last ray of sunlight disappeared from the horizon, a cold voice came from not far away. At this moment, Luo Shui took control of her body, and her entire body emitted a cold and arrogant aura. She took a step forward and stood beside Jiangqun. Looking at Holy Sun Tsingyan in front of her, she raised her eyebrows and said, "If I kill you, the Luoshan clan will declare war on the Tsangyan sect. It's good that you know." Holy Sun Tsingyan said coldly. "You unfaithful slut. But you don't know that I don't mind the Luoshan clan declaring war on the Tsangyan sect." Luo Shui smiled contemptuously and said, "By the way, let me tell you that I'm someone you will never be able to obtain." What are you doing?" Holy Sun Tsingyan's heart palpitated, but he saw that Luo Shui had already made her move. Like a fairy, she stood in the air, and the power of the heavens surged around her. When she raised her slender, snow-white hand, the power of all the major elements gathered. Wind, fire, and thunder, like a storm, covered this part of the world. "Do you want to completely fall out with me?" Holy Sun Tsingyan roared. "Do you know the consequences of doing this?" "I know," Luo Shui said softly. "But my fate is in my own hands." Holy Sun Tsingyan glared at her, but he was clear about his current state. If he fought with Luo Shui now, he would definitely die. Thinking of this, Holy Sun Tsingyan's expression became extremely ugly. After glaring fiercely at Luo Shui and Jiangqun, he turned around and fled into the void. However, Luo Shui didn't want to let Holy Sun Tsingyan go so easily. A bolt of lightning shot out, and struck Holy Sun Tsingyan in the void. However, Holy Sun Tsingyan was still very powerful. After letting out a scream, he still managed to escape. "Now you should tell me what's going on between you and her, right? Since everyone is here, it's time to make things clear." At this moment, Hualiani and Nayland Mayer both looked at Jiangqun. Both of them had faint smiles on their faces, causing Jiangqun to tremble all over. When facing Holy Sun Tsingyan, Jiangqun wasn't afraid at all. However, when facing his two disciples, Jiangqun didn't know why, but he felt a little guilty. Chapter 498. Every family had their own problems. Others might not know, but Jiangqun was very clear in his heart. His disciples did not cultivate all day long, and only thought about sleeping with him. "I am the dignified divine King Tianchun, how could I teach such a few disciples?" At this moment, Jiangqun felt that he should take in a few male disciples in the future. "There's nothing between me and him," Luo Shui said softly. "It's just a shield." When these words came out, Jiangqun could not help but laugh. He secretly thought that Luo Shui was finally reliable at the critical moment. However, When Luo Shui said these words, Hualiani and Nayland Mayer were unhappy. What the hell? My master is so outstanding and so handsome, but you only use him as a shield. No! This could not be tolerated. You don't have any other thoughts about my master? Hualiani asked tentatively. That's right, my master is so handsome, how many men in the world can compare to him? You don't have any thoughts at all? Nayland Mayer said. When Luo Shui heard this, she frowned. After thinking for a moment, she muttered, I still have some thoughts. You still say that it's a shield. Liar! At this moment, the two women exploded. They secretly thought that they had another opponent. Luo Shui was dumbfounded. The two of you, what do you mean? I don't have any thoughts about your master, but you're uncomfortable in your hearts. Now that I have some thoughts, you're unhappy? This? Can't you speak properly? All right, listen to your master. Jiang Chen's expression turned serious. It was time to stand up and speak. Otherwise, as a master, he would lose too much face. However, when he saw Hualiani's cultivation, Jiang Chen's face could not help but darken. He secretly thought that he had lost a lot of face. After that, when Jiang Chen saw Nayland Mayer's cultivation, Jiang Chen even had the heart to die. Among his disciples, only Nayland Mayer did not like to cultivate. But now, her cultivation base had actually reached the upper level of a great sage. My cultivation level is the lowest? Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. He thought to himself that he had been practicing fast enough. Why is it that the cultivation of the people around me is so high? Master, I will protect you from now on. Hualiani moved closer to Jiang Chen, shook his cuffs, and said shyly, Don't be afraid. Master! I can protect you too. Nayland Mayer was not to be outdone. She shook Jiang Chen's other cuff. Her face was slightly red as she whispered, When did we that? Jiang Chen felt a headache coming on. They were on a bloody road. Could the two of them be more serious? Luo Shui saw all of this and could not help but spit out and said, There's not a single decent person in this family. Sister Hua, although Holy Sun Deep Blue has left, he will definitely return. At this moment, Man Xiaoxiong had a worried expression and said, This time he came alone. Who knows how many people will come next time? Moreover, with Holy Sun Deep Blue's strength, the strength of his friends should be about the same as him. What are you afraid of? Just because he has more people. Hualiani was unconvinced and said, If he was not a dark sorcerer and naturally restrained me, would he need my master to act? With my 9 battle spirits, I can suppress him. That's right, my master is very powerful. Nayland Mayer smiled charmingly. Her slender jade-like hands hung around Jiang Chen's neck. She blinked her beautiful eyes and bashfully and softly whispered into Jiang Chen's ear, Master, I'm tired, both of you, cultivate. Jiang Chen exploded and glared at Nayland Mayer. Then, he found a place and began to cultivate. When the two women saw that Jiang Chen was cultivating, they also felt bored and sat cross-legged beside Jiang Chen to cultivate. At the same time, the small world was in an uproar. This was because many people had witnessed the fight between Jiang Chen and Saint Sun Sengming. With the strength of a saint, he had defeated Holy Sun Deep Blue, a peerless genius who was about to step into the heaven realm. Moreover, he had remained undefeated. This battle record was too glorious. If there's a chance, kill him in the cradle. We can't give him the chance to rise. If he has such combat strength as a saint, if he steps into the immortal realm, what will we do? Everyone in the same generation will be suppressed by him. Get ready. From today onwards, keep an eye on him. At this moment, the upper echelons of the various factions and alliances gathered together, and finally came to the same conclusion. They wanted to kill Jiang Chen in the cradle. Because they were afraid. They were afraid that after Jiang Chen's cultivation increased, he would be able to suppress everyone in the same generation. By then, not only would people of the same generation be unable to contend against Jiang Chen, but even people of the older generation wouldn't be able to suppress Jiang Chen. Deep Blue, I heard you returned with a broken sword. At the same time, in a corner of the small world, Holy Sun Deep Blue was recuperating. In front of him, there was a man with 2 horns on his head. He had a puzzled look on his face. There are too many of them. Holy Sun Deep Blue explained. Wait until my injuries are healed. Come with me. That's good too. We can see how strong that reincarnated Tianqin is, the young man said softly. At this moment, if there were outsiders present and saw this young man with 2 horns on his head, they would definitely exclaim. This was because this person was the son of the Beast King, Jin Xuanhao, a golden blood tiger. Before he entered the bloody path, Jin Xuanhao's name had already spread throughout the world. It was said that among his peers, his strength was enough to rank in the top 50. There were so many prodigies in the world, and it was easy to imagine how strong those who could rank in the top 50 were. And now, Jin Xuanhao was obviously with Holy Sun Deep Blue. If these 2 peerless prodigies were to join forces, Jiang Chen and the others would probably not be able to stop them. Fortunately, Holy Sun Deep Blue's injuries had yet to fully recover, so Jiang Chen could still rest for a while. Master, I heard. 10 days later, Jiang Chen and the others were more or less done with their cultivation and were preparing to enter the small world. At this moment, Nayland Mayer frowned and said, I heard that something happened to Wakako. During these 10 days, Jiang Chen had been cultivating. His cultivation had reached the upper level of the sage stage and was about to break through. Therefore, he did not pay much attention to what was happening outside. Now that he heard Nayland Mayer say this, Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed and he asked in a low voice, What happened? He was being hunted down and fell into the divine pit, Nayland Mayer said. Divine pit? Jiang Chen immediately stood up, his eyes flashing. He clenched his fists and was extremely worried. The celestial pit was an ancient ruin in the 4th small world. It was known as one of the 10 most dangerous places on the bloody path. No one who went in had ever come out alive. Entering the divine pit was equivalent to death. Even Jiang Chen didn't have the nerve to set foot there. Now that he heard that Wakako was being hunted down and fell into the divine pit, Jiang Chen's first thought was to avenge Wakako. That was because falling into the divine pit was basically equivalent to death. Chapter 499. Who did it? Jiang Chen's eyes drooped slightly as killing intent erupted from his body. The second holy son of the radiant god cult, Wei Xian. Nayland Mayer said. Wei Guang is dead. Wei Xian is now the first holy son of the radiant god cult and is known as the holy son of the radiant god cult. Where is he? Jiang Chen asked. The 5th small world, Nayland Mayer said. Ever since Wei Guang's death, Wei Xian had become the first holy son of the radiant god cult. Now, he had roped in several peerless geniuses and started to clean up people related to Jiang Chen. Wakako entered the 5th small world so quickly? Jiang Chen was puzzled. With Wakako's cultivation, it shouldn't be so fast. He obtained the inheritance of some ancient sect and his strength increased greatly, Nayland Mayer said. But, at this point, Nayland Mayer also let out a long sigh. She also believed that Wakako was most likely dead. At this moment, Jiang Chen didn't say much. He stood up and looked into the distance. He whispered, It's time to start the battle. However, just 3 breaths later, he saw 2 ewes flying over. The Holy Sun Tsengming is here again. That's the golden blood tiger, Jin Xuanhao. Exclamations sounded from all around. Everyone's expression changed as they felt the terrifying killing intent emanating from the 2 youths. Seeing this, Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed. He said to Nayland Mayer and the others, Let's go first. Why? It's just 2 people. Hua Liani frowned. Wasn't Jiang Chen being too careful? One had to know that there was still Luo Shui. At the very least, there was still war dancer Nayland Mayer. Could it be that they couldn't beat the Holy Sun Tsengming and the Golden Blood Tiger, Jin Xuanhao? Jiang Chen smiled bitterly. He looked up at the brilliant sun hanging high in the sky, and knew that the person controlling the body was Luo Yang. Without Luo Shui, Luo Yang and Huo Yanyi were clearly no match for Holy Sun Tseng-ming and Jin Xuanhao. Of course, Jiang Chen still had Barbarian Bear on his side. However, although Man Shixiang called Hua Lianyi's sister Hua, he wouldn't be willing to risk his life. In fact, Man Shixiang had already fled with his men when he saw Saint Sun Tseng-ming and Jin Xuanhao. "Let's go! Let's meet in the fifth small world," Jiang Chen said solemnly. After he finished speaking, Jiang Chen charged out as if he wanted to fight Holy Sun Blue Sea and Jin Xuanhao by himself. "Let's go. Master, buy me more time." "He'll be fine," Hua Lianyi said, but there was still a trace of worry in her eyes. "He's the reincarnation of godly King Tianqin. He'll be fine." Luo Yang was very confident in Jiang Chen. They then retreated and left. As for Holy Sun Tseng-ming, his first goal in coming here was to kill Jiang Chen. As for whether he could take Luo Yang away, he didn't care. After all, he and Luo Yang had already shed all pretense of cordiality. If the two of them met in the future, they might have to fight to the death. "Jiang Chen! You still dare to come here?" Holy Sun Tseng-ming said disdainfully. "Let's see who can help you today." "Oh? This is the reincarnation of godly King Tianqin?" Jin Xuanhao's eyes narrowed as he carefully sized him up. A trace of contempt flashed in his eyes as he said, "Isn't he too weak? Heh, if he didn't have someone helping him, I would have already killed such an ant." Holy Sun Tseng-ming said coldly. He was still brooding over the previous battle. At this moment, Jiang Chen didn't say anything. He secretly set up an array. When he rushed in front of Holy Sun Tseng-ming and Jin Xuanhao, the array formed under his feet, and his figure instantly disappeared. "Still want to run?" Holy Sun Tseng-ming was furious. He formed seals with both hands and used a secret technique. A black poisonous snake entered the void. Soon, he sensed Jiang Chen's aura. He then stepped into the void with Jin Xuanhao and chased after him. Half an incense stick of time later, Jiang Chen escaped from the void and arrived at this small world's trial grounds. Of course, this small world's trial grounds were actually those few palaces. Jiang Chen could be considered to have passed the trial long ago. Now that he came to an altar, he immediately stepped into the next small world. After a dozen breaths of time, Holy Sun Tseng-ming and Jin Xuanhao caught up. After looking around, they also stepped onto the altar and chased after him. After Jiang Chen entered the fourth small world, his face couldn't help but darken. He secretly cursed his bad luck. He was actually randomly teleported to the most famous forbidden land in the fourth small world, the Endless Sky Forest. This place was an ancient ruin. It was said that a deity had once undergone nirvana here. There were also rumors that a great demon was buried under the Endless Sky Forest. In short, no matter what the rumors were, the Endless Sky Forest was extremely dangerous. Not only were there terrifying demonic beasts, but there were also some unknown creatures that were extremely powerful. There were even some demonic beasts that were not weaker than Heaven Realm experts. Buzz! At this moment, not far from Jiang Chen, a trembling sound could be heard as the void split open. Holy Sun Tseng-ming and Jin Xuanhao were also teleported here. Moreover, the distance between the three of them was only 100 meters. However, this distance of 100 meters caused the three of them to become serious. The three of them didn't even dare to breathe loudly. This was because in that 100-meter area between the three of them, there was a huge snake that was the color of a withered leaf. This huge snake had 9 heads, and its body was like a bucket. When it was asleep, it emitted the aura of a Heaven Realm expert. Ancient ferocious beast, the withered leaf 9-headed beast. Jiang Chen was shocked. He was glad that he didn't move recklessly earlier. If he accidentally woke up the withered leaf 9-headed beast, he was afraid that he would be swallowed whole. At this moment, Holy Sun Tseng-ming and Jin Xuanhao did not dare to move. Even if they were geniuses, even if their cultivation had reached the upper level of the God realm, they still had to be obedient in front of the withered leaf 9-headed beast. For a moment, the scene became silent. None of the three of them dared to move, After half an incense stick's time, the three of them were sweating profusely. They stood still and did not move at all. However, at this moment, the space beside Jiangchen cracked open, and then a young man was teleported here. "What is this place?" the young man shouted as soon as he appeared. This sentence caused Jiangchen, Holy Sun Sangming, and Jin Xuanhao's expressions to change drastically. Their eyes were filled with fear. Roar! At this moment, a roar was heard. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the withered leaf nine-headed beast was awakened. "Damned fool!" Holy Sun Sangming was furious. He stared at the young man who had just been teleported here. He raised his hand and shot a dark spear at him, directly piercing through him. After that, Holy Sun Sangming no longer cared about Jiangchen. He turned around and ran. Jin Xuanhao ran in the other direction, his face dark. Jiangchen also did not dare to stay. He knew how cruel the withered leaf nine-headed beast was. He used ground shrink and ran away. "Stupid human!" The withered leaf nine-headed beast was awakened. It was as if it was angry when it woke up. With a roar, its 9 heads split apart and turned into 9 rays of light. 3 rays of light formed a group and chased after Jiangchen, Holy Sun Sangming, and Jin Xuanhao. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.